Just we're back in open session. Special.
Okay, we're back in open session.
Okay, and let me announce that there was no reportable action at the closed session, so a motion to adjourn is appropriate now. Or actually, okay. I think the mayor can simply adjourn the meeting.
Okay, a closed session meeting is adjourned. And now we will go into the regular meeting, 6:01 on May 19th. Call to order. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Marks. And please remain standing for invocation by Pastor Malcolm McPhail.
Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council members, for your continued service. Kind of a thought for the day, if I could. It says out of the Hebrew Scriptures, it says, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them. And I couldn't think of a better group of people to remind about governance, whether it be city, national, county, to do it with common sense, to do it with discernment, and look at unintended consequences and all of the different ramifications of decision making. So thank you for being available to serve, to give of your time and your effort, and make common sense and govern your decision making and discernment in the greatest light of our community. Thank you. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to work with the city and the governance of the city. Thank you for the council members, our mayor, for those that are here that are first responders, God. I pray a blessing on our city, and I pray for our first responders that you will keep them safe, watch over them. And I pray for our council tonight that their decision making will be for the best of our city, for the greatness of our community. Give them wisdom, discernment, and common sense in all of their government. We thank you for that. Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to item 1.4, City Clerk's reporting on posting of the agenda.
Yes, Mayor and Council, the agenda was posted on Friday, May 16th at 11:19 a.m.
Thank you. 1.5, roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Bracco. Here. Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
Here.
Councilmember Hilton.
Here.
Councilmember Marks.
here.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Here.
Mayor Boza.
Here. Item 1.6 is orders of the day. It's just a reminder that at 7 o'clock, give or take 5 minutes or so, we will be going to item 8.2. That was for the reason that people who are interested in keeping up and following the agenda with the council, the city of Gilroy has moved to districts, so everybody knows that we're having that at 7 o'clock. Moving on to item number 1.7, we have employee introductions. Jimmy, please.
Hey, Bryce, how do you turn that coffee machine on?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. It's my great honor, Chief Fleop, come on up, to introduce you to Chief Rob Fleop. Rob's been on the job for a couple of weeks now, and he has spent the last part of his career at Lawrence, Douglas County, Kansas, where he was a battalion chief in charge of medical emergency and interagency coordination for both the county and the city. He has about 35 years of experience in which he got his start here in California. Has served in the area of San Francisco and then spent time in the Air Force in the fire service as well. He has some time in his younger life when he grew up in the area and spent his summers here in Morgan Hill and Gilroy, and has just recently relocated from Kansas and will be accompanied in the Gilroy community by his wife and his 2 dogs, Scout and Skylar. Very important. So with that, it's my honor to introduce to you Fire Chief Rob Fleop.
Well, thank you, Jimmy, for that. First, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff, and the public. It's my honor to be here. In all fairness, I'm but the newest firefighter here. So the way I kind of look at it is I've been here 14 days, and I'm more than impressed by not just the public safety, but the department that you've given me the responsibility of leading. So in my 2 weeks, I cannot express how welcoming I've been made to feel. So every day is just an honor to come in and put the uniform on and stand up right here. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the support I've received from my wife to allow me to be able to come out here first and be able to give my attention to the city and to the community. And then, not that I'm counting down, but in 10 days, she will join us out here. So I will be making my home within the community. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll be passing it to Division Chief Arlen Summers.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and community. It's my honor and privilege to be able to introduce two recently newly promoted fire engineers in our department. So as they come into the department, they're hired as a fire paramedic, and both recently promoted to the next rank, which is fire engineering, and that's a driver pumper operator. So when you see the fire engine driving on the streets of the city of Gilroy, it could be one of these two individuals driving. So wave high, and they'll wave high back. And it takes a while to get through the promotional process. And so it's a group. It's always exciting to see upward advancement within the organization. And then we have some new hires that we'll be introducing, I think, in the next month. But let me first introduce Jess Skapik. Jess was born in Columbia, Maryland, but moved to the southern part of Santa Clara County when he was 4. He grew up in Morgan Hill and Gilroy area. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2010 after graduating from high school and served 2 combat tours of duty in Afghanistan. He was honorably discharged in 2014. He obtained his EMT certification from Mission College and began working on an ambulance within the Santa Clara County Emergency Medical Service. He became a paramedic in 2017 and continued working with Santa Clara County as a medic. He was hired and joined the Gilroy Fire Department in October 2019. He has gone on several mutual aid deployments and is the chair of the department's medical advisory group. Jesse's family lives in Gilroy, and he looks forward to driving around the town in the Gilroy Fire Engine. We all welcome Jess Skapik.
Everyone, thank you for having me. Looking forward to the opportunity.
Thank you.
Next, we have newly promoted engineer Ian Nicholas. Ian has been with the Gilroy Fire Department since April of 2022. He lives in Vacaville with his wife Julie and his 10-year-old son Jack. In his free time, he coaches Little League and loves traveling off-road with his friends and family in Baja, Mexico. He has a hobby and loves to work on vehicles. He recently promoted to firefighter paramedic with a total of 13 years experience that he brings to that position, and now he's on his new track to fire engineering. He said the testing process was extremely stressful, but he's thankful for the experience and support of his family, wife, son, crew, and his mentors that gave him the support through the process. And he's bilingual in Spanish, which is really important for our community. Within the department, he's a member of the department's EMS advisor group, the MSAG group. And next month, he will be attending an emergency vehicle off-road training course to be an in-house instructor, kind of a train-the-train, to bring some, through Chief Smithy's connections with the driving company. So we're looking forward to improving our safety in the off-road arena. Please welcome Ian Nicholas.
And once again, just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to my crew, the guys supporting me, and really my family. But we actually have a call right now, so have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, we have 2 ceremonial items today, proclamation and awards. So we have 2 of them that I will come down and read. The first one is declaring May 2025 as National Bike Month, and that will be received by Parks and Rec Commissioner Luis Ramirez. And the second one will be a proclamation declaring May 18th to May 24th of 2025 as National Public Works Week, and I believe that our Public Works Director, John Dowdy, will be receiving that one. So I'll come down and read both of those. Louis, you'll go first. Hang tight. Come on up. I'll read it, and then John will come up, and then we'll take a couple pictures. Okay, so City of Gilroy proclamation. Whereas throughout the month of May, Gilroy will celebrate biking and the freedom, the joy, and the well-being it brings us, as well as the power that more people riding bikes has in making life better for everyone. And whereas Gilroy is nationally recognized bronze bicycle-friendly community from the League of American Bicyclists, May 15th through 17th, 2025. Including hosted energized stations from VTA at Gilroy Transit Center, Gilroy Parks and Rec Commission at the Ubis Creek Trail, and 5th Annual Ride Gilroy Gardens. Whereas throughout the month of May, the residents of Gilroy and its visitors will experience the joys of bicycling through group rides, races, commuting events, educational programs, charity events, and or by simply getting out and going somewhere by bike. Whereas bicycling has been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, growing the economy of Gilroy, attracting tourism dollars and local business spending, and reducing pollution, congestion, and parking costs on our streets and roads. And whereas Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, schools, parks, and recreation departments, police departments, public health districts, hospitals, businesses, and civic groups will be joining the League of American Bicyclists in promoting bicycling during the month of May 25. Whereas these groups are also promoting the use of bicycle as both a means of transportation and recreation year-round to attract more visitors to enjoy local parks and trail systems, as well as restaurants, hotels, retail establishments, and cultural and scenic attractions. Whereas these groups are also promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education during Bike Month and year-round in an effort to reduce collisions, injuries, and fatalities and improve health and safety for everyone on the road. Now, therefore, I, Greg Bozo, Mayor of Gilroy, and on behalf of the entire City Council, employees, and residents of Gilroy, join in declaring the month of May as National Bike Month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. I just want to say a few words. Thank you for making May Bike Awareness Month. Bicycles connect us. They connect us to our neighborhoods, to our parks. They connect us to our environment. They connect us to healthier lifestyles. Thank you, staff and council, for making our streets safer, for showing some respect to our cyclists, and making us all a little bit more healthy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So before I do this next one, I do see that people are standing. There are plenty of seats here, and don't be shy if you guys want to come in and sit down. There's plenty of seats. Okay. The next City of Gilroy proclamation for National Public Works Week. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the City of Gilroy. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for maintaining, building, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the residents and civic leaders of Gilroy to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, Be It Now. Now, therefore, I, Greg Bozo, Mayor of the City of Gilroy, do by designate the week of May 18th through the 24th as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to take a moment to recognize the substantial contributions of the members of the City Public Works and Utilities Departments who provides life-sustaining water and sewer services, safe streets, trails, and paths, as well as parks and community facilities to recreate and gather and to acknowledge the importance of these efforts in advancing the quality of life for all who live, work, and play in Gilroy. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you for recognizing all the men and women within the Public Works Department, the Utilities Department, Fleet, and facilities who every day are out working, helping make Gilroy a better place to live, and to thank you again for this. And we like to look at every day being Public Works Day, so thank you.
Let's come over here, John. Come on down for a photo. Come on here, John. You go first. And then Okay, thank you everybody for holding on for that. Moving on to item number 3 of council correspondence. We have none. And now moving on to item number 4. 4.1 is the annual Sister Cities Association presentation. And that will be done by Sister City President David Peoples.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Bozo and council members. My name is Dave Peoples, and I'm currently president of the Gilroy Sister Cities Association, a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on what is happening with GSCA, or Gilroy Sister Cities, and Gilroy's 6 sister cities. Firstly, since this is probably a long overdue update to council regarding GSCA activities, I believe some historical information is probably in order. Sister cities, or twin towns, as many are called, are cities or towns in different countries which share a political or social agreement aimed at promoting cultural, commercial, and economic links. There's a U.S. Sister Cities International organization envisioned and proposed by President Eisenhower and established in 1956 as a way for U.S. cities to create formal partnerships with foreign cities, promoting peace and cooperation through cultural exchange and understanding. Interestingly enough, the oldest partnership agreement in the U.S. is Toledo, Ohio, formally adopting Toledo, Spain, as a twin city in 1931. Gilroy's first sister city relationships, St. Clair, France, and Monticelli, Italy, were established in 1985. Then came Takomachi, Japan in 1988, Koror, Palau in 1994, Tecate, Mexico in 1996, and Angra do Heroísmo in the Azores in 2004. The success of Gilroy's Garlic Festival and Gilroy's garlic industry and cultural exchange were the catalysts for 3 of our sister cities, St. Clair, Monticelli, and Takomachi, each of which have long-established garlic festivals. Science, public safety, and education and cultural exchange were the catalysts for Koror, Tecate, and Angra. GSCA evolved from the Ad Hoc Special Visitors Committee of the Garlic Festival, which hosted individuals or groups from Gilroy's sister cities when they visited Gilroy or attended the Garlic Festival. Committee members greeted arriving visitors and hosted welcoming gatherings, arranged accommodations, facilitated activities, toured special visitors through the Garlic Festival, around Gilroy area, and arranged for or provided transportation as appropriate. after the city formalized a sister city relationship with Angra in the Azores, and after hearing about and experiencing the wonderful receptions and hospitality that Gilroy students and adults were afforded when they visited Gilroy's sister cities, then Mayor El Pinheiro was instrumental in establishing a volunteer nonprofit organization to ensure that visitors from Gilroy's sister cities would always be received and hosted consistent with how visitors from Gilroy are received and hosted by and in our sister cities. So what have we been doing? GSCA's mission is to promote peace through mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation, one individual and one community at a time, through people-to-people exchanges and initiatives. Our purpose is to foster, encourage, and promote the exchange of culture between cities of foreign nations, similar to the city of Gilroy. And this is what we've been doing with the help of the city, the Garlic Festival, the school district, businesses and organizations, and Gilroy families since 2011. In the last several months, GSCA has hosted representatives from TGIFA, that's the Taco Gilroy International Friendship Association, and that's who is basically the sister city organization in our sister city of Tacomachi. We've hosted the mayor and secretary of Angra do Heroísmo. We have assisted Tacomachi in the selection of a new coordinator of international relations, Luis Felipe Cruz Velasco, the 24th young adult from Gilroy hired for this position. His immediate predecessor was Gilroy resident Miranda Janish. We've hosted 8 junior high school students, 3 chaperones, and the school superintendent from Tacomachi on their week-long visit to Gilroy, arranging homestay, lodging, providing transportation, and activities. We've been invited and attended the 35th anniversary celebration of Sister City relationship with Gilroy and Tacomachi. We've been invited and attended, along with Gilroy Garlic Festival representatives, the annual Tacomachi Garlic and Beef Festival. We've developed a draft of a short and long-term strategic plan that is a work in progress, scheduled for completion in September. We reached out to our not-so-active sister cities, St. Clair and Monticelli. It's dinner time. I'm thinking Monticelli. To rekindle the activity we once had. One of our board members will be traveling to each of the 2 cities while vacationing abroad this year. We've been invited and participated in the 2024 and upcoming 2025 Angra San Juaninos Festival on Terceira Island in the Azores by selecting and facilitating a young adult princess ambassador from Gilroy to be part of the official festivities and activities, and featured on the festival's Sister City parade float. Abby Reynolds, a Gilroy girl who just graduated yesterday from
St. John's.
St. John's University in New York. And this year, Kennedy Agnich will be traveling to Angra to be our princess representative there. Kennedy, stand up. She's here with us tonight. We facilitated a Gilroy delegation visit to Angra as part of an Azores Islands tour last year, collaborated with Gilroy Garlic Festival to invite our sister cities to the recently confirmed return of Gilroy Garlic Festival. We've begun efforts to rebuild a more friendly and interactive GSCA website and refresh our social media outreach. We've presented GSCA budget for our fiscal year, January through December 2025, to the city as we need to, projecting expenses of about $21,600 against a $15,000 billable, and fundraising of $13,000. We've reached about 30% of our fundraising projection so far. To date, we've accrued 3,757 billable expenses. Completed about 90% of the funding recovery authorized by Council a few months ago. Now, it's very important that I mention and that you understand that all of these travel expenses and travel fun times that we have when we go abroad or visit our Gilroy sister cities, those are all funded with private funds, personal funds, not sister city funds, not city funds. So that's my update, and if any of you would like to ask questions, I'm happy to try and answer.
Any questions for Dave? No? Thank you, Dave. Great report. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to public comment. So just before we move forward, to be clear, this is public comment for anything that's not on the agenda. So if you are here to have comment about anything that's on the agenda, you will have a chance to do that later in the meeting. So we'll start with public comment. And how many do we have?
Yes, Mayor, Council, we currently have 15 speakers.
Okay, so we have 15 public comment speakers. That'll be 2 minutes each. And just a reminder for everybody, whenever we have a full house, it's not, I like to take the time to remind folks, as public speaking, public comment happens, just to keep it going. There's a lot of people that are sometimes enthusiastic about certain things, but if you can hold that enthusiasm to yourself, that'll really keep the tempo of the meeting going well. So let's start it off and go ahead.
First, we have Elena Schroeder, followed by Linda Bostwick, followed by Liz Murillo.
Good evening, Mayor Bozzo, council members, and city staff. My name is Elena Purcell Schrader. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley, which has proudly served Gilroy for many years through our low-income home repair rehabilitation and modification program. I'd first like to express our sincere regret for not being present at the previous meeting on May 5th during the discussion about the commitment of CDBG funds. Our absence should not be interpreted as a lack of interest or investment. We remain fully committed to the City of Gilroy and to the low-income residents who rely on our services, many of them seniors, veterans, and individuals with disabilities. We understand there are competing needs for limited funds, and we respect the difficult decisions you face. But we want to caution that reallocating these funds, while well-intentioned, may not be feasible under HUD's guidelines. If the funds are shifted to projects that aren't fully compliant or ready to spend quickly, the risk is very real that HUD could pull the funding altogether if it goes unspent by the deadline. Our program is not only compliant, it's shovel-ready. We're on track to complete repairs for 15 Gilroy households by the end of June, despite limited funding. We've already had to turn away more than 17 eligible families living in unsafe conditions due to a lack of resources this fiscal year. We can't imagine how many families in need, educators, older adults, or others, that will be forced to turn away next year without the availability of these CDBG funds. We urge the Council to reconsider the funding allocation at the upcoming June 2nd meeting and to continue supporting our critical work. It's effective, immediate, and aligned with Gilroy's top affordable housing priorities. Thank you sincerely for your time, consideration, and continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we have Linda Bostwick, followed by Liz Murillo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Linda Bostwick, and I also work for Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley, helping Gilroy residents access critical home repairs that keep them safe and housed. I want to take a moment to talk about what really is at stake for our program if our program loses CDBG support. The 17 households we had to turn away this year weren't just facing leaking faucets or minor issues. These are residents here in Gilroy that may be living without hot water, with damaged flooring causing fall hazards, or with electrical and plumbing failures that could displace them and pose serious health risks. For many, we are the only program that they can turn to but without CDBG funds, there is no program they can turn to. Our work directly supports the city's affordable housing objective number 1, as outlined in the Gilroy's 5-year consolidation plan, a priority developed with your residents' input, preserving existing affordable housing, especially for low-income homeowners. It's not just a plan on paper, it's proven. It's something that we put into action every week. And beyond the human impact, there's a financial case. Every dollar spent on home repair prevents more costly outcomes, from emergency room visits after a fall to code enforcement responses to homelessness. It's a smart, compassionate investment in a long-term stability in this community. We are here, we are ready, and we are committed. But without renewed CBG funding, the program in Gilroy comes to a halt in July 1st. We sincerely ask that at the upcoming council meeting on June 2nd, the council reconsiders its funding allocation recommendation and allows us to keep doing the essential work for your residents. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Linda.
Next is Liz Murillo, followed by Vilma Peraza.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. My name is Liz Murillo. I'm a native of Gilroy, and I'm a board member for Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley. So, Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley provides critical home repairs for some of our most vulnerable residents. We are all aware of the housing crisis our city faces. Our TSV stands with the city of Gilroy in prioritizing housing by providing repairs that allow residents to stay in their homes. Repairs we complete are often critical to prevent displacement. Our TSV does so much more than just home repairs. We bring hope, a sense of belonging, a sense of pride. We create neighborhoods. We cross social cultural boundaries. We are neighbors helping neighbors. I've invited each one of our council members and the mayor to attend a lunch and learn at Synergy Co-working this Thursday, where you'll learn more about Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley. We have representatives from Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley and myself who'd be able to answer any questions that you have about how Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley is contributing to the city of Gilroy. Don't let the name Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley make you believe that they are not contributing to the success of our community. They clearly are. I encourage you to drive around the mobile parks in town. The wheelchair ramps, the elevators that you see have been provided free of charge to our residents in those homes. These are a necessity for these residents, again, to stay in their homes and to avoid displacement in some cases. Mobile homes don't appreciate in value. They depreciate in value. The homeowner's only hope is to maintain their property. And if they cannot afford to do that or cannot afford to buy another one, that's where our TSV comes in. If the home deteriorates, they're left with nothing or very little, not enough to rebuy if they need to. This past April, we conducted Rebuilding Days here in Gilroy. Our beneficiaries were a veteran and a former educator. Those are the people who benefit from our services. A final thought for each of you. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
So next speaker is Vilma Peraza, followed by Genevieve Corbin, and I'll just need a few moments to change the translation real quick.
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to speak in Spanish because a lot of people, Spanish people, for the same reason I'm here.
That's okay.
Okay.
Are you ready for that, Bryce?
Just 1 moment.
1 second, please.
Okay.
Okay. And while we're preparing, if any of you in the back would like seats, there are seats here and here, so don't be afraid to come on up. I know there's a young guy out there. So come on in.
So we are ready.
Okay, you are ready to go. You have 2 minutes, and just remember to speak closely to the mic.
Okay, no problem. Muy buenas tardes, miembros del Consejo. Mi nombre es Vilma Peraza. Soy residente de Gilroy por 15 años y también tengo un negocio en Downtown. En los últimos años he visto muchos buenos cambios en Downtown. Las luces de los árboles le dio mucha vida al downtown y también los nuevos negocios. La razón que estoy aquí es porque quiero apoyar a las personas que son dueñas de los camiones de comida. Ellos también tienen los permisos requeridos por la county y también de Gilroy. Y si no los tienen de Gilroy, también pueden aplicar por ellos. Estas personas son muy buenas trabajadoras y pagan sus impuestos. Espero que la ciudad de Gilroy no les cierre las puertas y les dé una oportunidad. Gracias.
Thank you. Great job.
Just give one moment. In the meantime, Genevieve Corbin, followed by Juan Rojas.
Hi. I'm here because we've been here before in regards to, I live at the Monterey Gateway Apartments just up the road. We're a senior facility, ages 55 and up. Some of our people use walkers. Some of our people have a little, I call them go-karts that they run around the street with. Some of our people do drive, and a lot of our people walk. We have a great need for the crosswalk across from our building. We have 10th Street, but that's too far. We've been told that Zach's been really good about getting back to me when I called him. But we have been told that the finances for this have been authorized. However, unfortunately, due to hook or crook, some of the finances have not come through or they have been held up. I'm here to plead the case that we need to get this done. We have had a second accident, a hit and run. One of our people got hit trying to cross the street. She's in the hospital. She's had a couple of surgeries, broken arm in a couple of places. This is like an unnecessary thing. Seniors are not people that, a lot of our seniors don't go out and do stuff, but they do need to have the way to get across the street. The area from our apartment down is all dirt and rocks, which is dangerous to travel on. There's a lot of people that go up and down Monterey Highway, and we need some kind of stop that says, okay, somebody needs to cross the street. We'd really appreciate it if you guys would really look into maybe helping with the finance until the other finances get let go of. Somehow getting something done, because it's really it's dangerous out there. So I really appreciate you listening to me, and I thank you very much. And I brought several of our tenants with me because they wanted to see how the council worked. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Juan Rojas, followed by Terry Hendricks Herman.
Just as a reminder, it's ideal if we don't do applause in between speakers, please. We just really want to keep the meeting moving along. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Hello. Speaking on behalf of food truck vendors, food trucks should be allowed in Gilroy, California to support small businesses and enhance culinary diversity and create vibrant community spaces, offering residents and tourists alike affordable, creative dining options while complementing the city's thriving agriculture and festival culture. Let's focus on two specific benefits. Economic angle. Permitting food trucks in Gilroy would stimulate entrepreneurship, generate additional tax revenue, and create jobs while keeping food costs competitive in a higher inflation era. Tourism angle. As a hub for garlic lovers and festival goers, Gilroy could leverage food trucks to attract younger crowds, extend visitor stay, and modernize its food scene without compromising its small town businesses. Food trucks matter.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Terry Herman, followed by Miguel Flacker.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to support our local food trucks. As a long-time Gilroy resident, they bring in people to downtown. We've seen great businesses, the breweries pop up. We go downtown every Friday and enjoy our local breweries and the food trucks. When we're down there, we often see families driving through, looking to see who's down there, and they'll pull over and get out, maybe buy a 4-pack of beer and buy something from the food trucks with their kids and move on. They bring in business. So please, and a diversity of food, please open back up for the food trucks. This is what our community wants.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Miguel Flacker, followed by Rose Eng.
Good evening, all. I'm Miguel Plaquet, Gilroy resident and active member of multiple communities of Gilroy. I'm going to start with saying that mistakes happen, and it's okay as long as we just learn from them. On May 5th, I'm not sure what the laughing was for, but the optics aren't great when there's laughter before passing a motion on a night's whim to enforce an outdated ordinance, immediately adversely affecting the livelihood of many, resulting in the outright discrimination of food trucks, effectively making it practically impossible for them to currently operate at all in the city of Gilroy. I saw some of the proposed guidelines for trucks and vendors to operate, and I can tell you with confidence, they don't look very good. They are too expensive, cause financial hardship, and I dare to say dance with discrimination, referring to background checks, live scans, etc. I just like criminals, just like any other protective, responsible adult, believe the background checks and live scans for when these vendors want to operate at a school property or somewhere similar to that. I encourage everyone to review the temporary vendor permit prices being pitched to the city, which is also another major issue. My personal community mission is to increase the veteran hall presence and activity because bottom line is they need help, we need help. Having food trucks at the property was going to be a main component for this strategy, not to mention that this enforcement technically seems to affect medical vendors that stage at the veteran hall as well. When thinking of permitted locations for trucks or vendors, we get it. A food truck directly in front of a business blocking a view is obnoxious. So make it so that they have to be a reasonable distance away. Do not just pass something that would delete their complete presence from downtown or make it unreasonably difficult or burdensome for the small guy to operate. I want to share something real quick from Pastor More. 90% of street vendors are undocumented immigrants trying to make a living by providing service during hours of the day that no other business is open. No other city in the United States asks anyone that is trying to get a license or permit to open a legitimate business to do a background check or a lab scan. You guys are discriminating the food vendors as criminals just for the simple fact that we are undocumented. You guys don't ask for background checks for any other kind of business. The food trucks are a legitimate business that have permits and licenses that the county that they are in. The county has already checked their identity by asking for their driver's licenses. The food trucks that come to downtown aren't stealing from restaurants that are in downtown because they don't get foot traffic. I'm going to respect the time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Miguel.
Next speaker is Rose Ang, followed by Kathy Napoli.
Hello. This is the first time I'm attending one of these, so I apologize if this is not the right forum. There are more questions than anything, so I don't know how I get answers to these questions, whether you guys are just going to follow up at a later time or this is a question and answer session. Just let me know. No?
It's just a comment session that we could follow up at a later time. It's not when we do questions, right?
Yeah, so I really, like as I mentioned, I don't know what the forum is for raising this question. So first one has to do with streets. At where I live, Santa Teresa and Thomas, the streets have been repaved, so thank you very much. But some of the streets, like Automall Parkway, is pretty bad. So is that one of the city streets that can be worked on? So that's the first one. Second one is related to 101, northbound and southbound within the Gilroy area, starting from Maston all the way to Monterey Road. The rightmost lane, both northbound, southbound, pretty bad. Is that something that the city can address? And if it isn't, who do I address this to get it fixed? It's pretty bad on our cars. Last one has to do with my specific community. From what I've heard from the HOA, those streets are governed by the HOA, and that the board for the HOA are the ones responsible for making changes. But to me, it presents a safety issue. So my question is this something that the city of Gilroy can do something about? Or this is strictly within the HOA and those streets cannot be annexed somehow? So those are my questions. Again, I'm hoping I get answers. Okay. So next one.
That actually, you're at 2 minutes already. So if you could take your questions to the Public Works Director.
Okay.
If not tonight, any other time, you can email him. That would be the best way.
I can't speak quickly enough.
No,
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Kathy Napoli, followed by Sheila Munger.
Good evening, Mayor Bozo, City Council members, staff, and community. I'm here to share information. As a former educator, I can't help but do it. So I'd like to give you some information. If you look right here at the beginning of the seats, all the way to That gentleman over there, that represents 26 feet. And the reason I tell you that is because it represents how long Native Americans have been here in Gilroy and the South County. Spanish came in 1769. That's only 256 years ago. If you're not Spanish, then you've probably only been here a little bit less than that. Mexico came in 1834, and everyone else when it became the U.S. in 1848. I say that because we have 26 feet. Each foot represents 500 years. So that means that if you're not Native American, you have to stand in the last 6 inches, because that's how long it's been that Native Americans have been here. I go to the 3rd grade classes every year, and I've been doing it for 7 years, and the students understand who's been here longer. So what I would like to do is read a land acknowledgement statement, and if anyone feels to show respect, you respect when you stand up to say the Pledge of Allegiance or when you do the invocation, I would ask that same acknowledgement and respect for a land acknowledgement. So I'm going to read it now. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Amamutsan tribal band of Ohlone Costanoan Indians. We formally recognize and respect the Amamutsan as the traditional stewards of this land known as Popolocham. The Amamutsan continue to carry out their obligation given to them by Creator to care for their traditional lands, water, and forests with neighboring tribes, which would include the Tamian, the Muwekma, the Esalen, the Awaswas, and the Rumsen. Thank you so much. And the sad part is we heard about housing, and most Native Americans cannot live in their own lands. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Sheila Monger, followed by Giovanni Albanese.
Good evening, Mayor Bozo, council members. My name is Sheila Monger, and I'm a Gilroy resident, and I'm here to talk about the food trucks. Last time we were here, there was a long discussion. There was overwhelming public support. We listened to a paid consultant tell us that we had enough parking. We had business owners here to support the food trucks. We were informed that the ordinance was designed for ice cream trucks and was told that that ordinance would be updated. And then a member, a vendor possibly, had offered to help you to update the ordinance as he had worked with other cities and had that legal language. Alternatives have been given, such as maybe a central place like the 5th Street mural, maybe along Gourmet Alley, or partnerships with businesses to use their parking lots, etc. But here we are. Nothing has been accomplished. You're sabotaging the downtown right in time for summer traffic, and I find it shameful.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Giovanni Albanese, followed by Matthew Gallion.
Hey guys, a lot of respect for all of you. I'm a business owner, Settle Down Brewery downtown. Respect all of you, but I feel like the invocation at the beginning of the meeting makes a lot of sense for my comments, common sense. And there's a whole lack of it with every one of you from last meeting with regard to the decision to vote. I thought we were just going to discuss about applying some sort of change to the food truck ordinance or the mobile vendor ordinance. Of course, this applies to more than just food trucks. To rush to a decision is so anti-Gilroy City Council. I've never seen you guys rush to a judgment as fast as you did on May 5th. And I was shocked. That's why I didn't show up on May 5th, but here we are today. Me and Robert, we poured our blood, sweat, tears, and money, of which we don't have a lot of, into our business. Part of our business plan was to provide food to our customers, and that was through food vendors and pop-ups and food trucks, and now they're taken away from your quick judgment. All we're asking is for you to reconsider that and reverse your decision on May 5th. What we could do is find some solutions, and maybe we could have had a solution in place prior to making a decision or a vote, and that would have been the right thing to do, but common sense was lacking on May 5th. So I had a lot written down here, and I'm not even following it. Again, emotion taking over here. But I'd like to actually chat with all of you off the record here so we can actually have a conversation to get to a solution, because really, a solution is necessary, because you're going to drive our business out before, anything happens with your plan. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matthew Gallion, followed by Lucian Schott.
Ladies and gentlemen of City Council, in the spirit of tonight, I come before you in the spirit of common sense. That, again, as Giovanni so aptly pointed out, was lacking in our last City Council meeting on May 5th, where that decision was so hastily made to arbitrarily apply old, outdated policy to something that is completely different than what it was intended for. We took an ice cream ordinance, to get background checks for ice cream trucks that are around children. We applied that to all mobile vending, not just food trucks, mobile health services, everything that pops up in and around town are affected by that. So what I would encourage the City Council to do is propose a future agenda item to add it on. If somebody wants to make the motion, second it, you can have a vote on that to add a future agenda item onto your next meetings so that we can reverse this ordinance, bring the food trucks back. You all can go sit down with the businesses that are affected by this, food trucks included. Talk to them. Figure out what solutions work, what solutions don't work, because right now it doesn't work. So we need you guys to do your part, what you're intended to do, and that's to make our city better, not worse. And right now, we're trending backwards. You're making it worse. So I would encourage you all to take a moment, reflect on that. I spoke with a lot of you before, concerning a lot of other issues, and not one of you came to me with this beforehand. So, again, take a second, digest that. Hopefully we can get this decision reversed and we can collaborate in the future to safely integrate food trucks back in. That would suffice the City Council, suffice the restaurants, and make everybody happy so we can continue to have a beautiful city and keep going forward instead of backwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Lucian Schott, followed by Dan Donovan.
Can you say the name again, Bryce?
Sure.
It's hard to hear.
Next speaker is Lucian Schott, followed by Dan Donovan.
Is Lucian here? Do you want to jump to Dan?
Yeah, let's go and move to Dan Donovan.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, my name is Dan Donovan. I'm the recently appointed chair of the Gilroy Historical Society Architectural Awards Committee. And what I want to do is announce our 4 award winners for this year. We'll be recognizing them at our annual meeting in the middle of June. So the 4 winners, we have 2 commercial properties that are downtown and 2 residential properties. The 2 commercial properties are Savvy's Downtown Suites, owned by Savannah Longenbach, and with a lot of help from Dave Porcella, and Gilroy Bowl, which is owned by David Leal. The 2 residential properties are 7600 Carmel Street, which is owned by Peter Ortiz, and the second one is 321 6th Street, across the street from the library here, and that's owned by Sandra Johnson. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Okay. Did we find Lucian? Is he here?
So this is second call for Lucian Schott, and he's our final speaker.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 5, it's reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco.
Yes, I attended the library's grand opening of the Earthen Adventure, and I'd like to thank the community for coming out. It was a good turnout. and I want to thank my colleagues that were there. It was a lot of fun. It makes you want to wish you were a little kid so you can go running through that thing. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes, on behalf of Visit Gilroy, as previously reported, Visit Gilroy applied for and was accepted to the very first reverse Mexico mission through Visit California. Last week was a big event where Visit Gilroy's director met in Oakland with approximately 20 travel VIPs from Mexico and subsequently took them on a tour of some of Gilroy's highlights. 9 of the travel and tourism VIPs spent the night in Gilroy and the following morning ate breakfast with the mayor at Nacho Moyo's gallery, followed by visiting other art hotspots like Ruben Dario Villa's studio, 6th Street Studios, the Clove Complex, the Neon Exchange, city murals, as well as seeing Old City Hall, the Cannery Makers Market, Gilroy Bowl, and Koval. Visit Gilroy also arranged for a ranger-guided tour of the Chickatack Adams Native American cultural site and garlic ice cream at LJB Farms. The day concluded with an enthusiastic tour of Gilroy Gardens and a sneak preview of their upcoming Cherry Jubilee menu. Our guests were blown away by the Gilroy Gardens and all that Gilroy has to offer. Gilroy is the smallest community, is one of the smallest communities allowed to participate in this amazing program. The norm is for much larger cities and those with highly developed tourism assets like Monterey, Santa Cruz, Anaheim, and San Francisco. Mexico sends more international visitors to California than any other country, and our guests left Gilroy with a new understanding of how Gilroy can make an ideal hub for exploring California. Visit Gilroy is immensely grateful to the partners who extended themselves to ensure the spotlight on Gilroy was bright and memorable.
Thank you. Councilmember Marks.
Yes, the Santa Clara County Habitat Implementation Board met this past Thursday. We reviewed the draft operating budget for 2026 and 2027 and the proposed projects for the next 2 years. The annual Habitat report covered all the completed projects for this past year. The third report was the annual creek restoration permits for the Habitat projects that needed mitigation for clean water, and that was it.
Councilmember Hilton.
No report.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Thank you to Dave Peoples, because I sit on the Sister City committee, and I think he did a great job.
Councilmember Klein.
No report.
Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 6, the consent calendar. Items number 6.1 through 6.6. I will entertain a motion to approve. I'm sorry. I need to move to public comment. I'm sorry, moving too fast.
Yes, Mayor, Council.
Public comment.
At this point, we do not have any speakers.
Sorry about that.
There's one issue in the previous minutes on the CDBG votes where Mayor Bozo is shown to have an aye and a nay, both on that one. So
which number?
That would be on the last on the May 5th minutes.
Oh, and it says I have an aye on the CDBG and I have a nay. Okay, you're right about that. Okay, so noted. So I have a motion to approve the consent calendar 6.1 through 6.6 with that note. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Bracco and a second from Councilmember Marks. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Bozo.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. I'm going to go on to item number 7, bids and proposals. We have none. And with that being said, I'm 8 seconds away from 7 o'clock, so I'm going to speak slowly here. But I'll just give you an introduction. We are going to move on to item number 8. We are going to move on to item 8.2. We're going to skip 8.1, as I mentioned earlier, and as we've done in every meeting when it comes to the districting topic. And we do that at 7 o'clock so the public knows that they have a chance to be here for that. So now that it is 7 o'clock, we will move on to item number 8.2, and I will go ahead and read the topic. The sixth public hearing regarding the city's transition from an at-large to a district-based election system for the purpose of receiving the demographer's presentation on the transition process and selecting a final district elections map from the remaining 2 draft maps D and F, as well as determining the order of elections, that is, which 3 districts will be on the ballot in the November 26 election, and which 3 districts will be on the 2028 ballot. Determining whether candidates for City Council must be residents and electors of the district in which they seek election for any other period time prior to filing their nomination papers and declaring their intent to run, and introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gilroy declaring henceforth that City Council elections will be districted, adopting a districting map declaring the order of elections, and potentially imposing a residency requirement on council candidates. So with that being said, I want to make sure there's any communications, ex parte communications from council. There are none. And we'll go right to Liz for the staff report. Thank you.
All right. So this is the last hearing. We've come a long way. On tonight's agenda, we'll quickly recap the districting criteria we used to draw the lines, go over the public hearing schedule, touch on the public testimony we've received since the last meeting, and then go over the final map. So we have draft D and draft F. Both exemplify maps that we've seen throughout this process. Go over potential sequencing, and then we'll vote on the final map, and then we'll vote on sequencing. So just a quick reminder, these are the criteria that we've used throughout the process. Each district is relatively equal in population. The districts are contiguous, so they're whole pieces. We're not going from one part of the city to the other and saying that's District 1. We're maintaining communities of interest, and a part of that is not including political parties, candidates, and incumbents as communities of interest. Lines should be easy to identify, and then keeping districts compact. So this has been the public hearing schedule and meetings that we've had with the community. Started back in March and finishing it up today. We have no new maps from last time, but we do have, and this should say 63 emails that we've received from community members about their support for either draft D or draft F. And this is a little outdated. We received, I believe, 19 in support for draft D and then 44 for draft F. Some of the emails we've received for draft D, a lot of them focused on that draft D maintains a lot of communities, a lot of neighborhoods, particularly on the east side. And then draft F, those emails were a little bit less verbose, but a lot of emails saying we support draft F. And then now we're going to go over draft D and draft F. You can see that there certainly are similarities, particularly on the west side. So really the differences that we're seeing in the middle of the city and on the east. So let's go over draft D. You all have seen this before. Total deviation is 7.5%. This is based on a map that we received from a community member based off of JH05. It keeps together the east side. It uses Hecker Pass as a divider. Here is the map. Oh, and before I forget, if anyone would like translation services, we do have translation devices in the back. So feel free to pick that up if you would prefer to listen to this in Spanish. So here are the dividers. You can see Hecker Pass is used as a main thoroughfare, used as a divider between districts 2 and 6. As much as possible, we use Monterey Road to be a divider. In fact, all the way down Monterey Road, that is a divider. And then using streets like 3rd Street, Wellburn as also dividing lines. Total deviation is 7.5%, and we do achieve 4 majority-minority districts with this map. Going over draft F, we talked about this in the last meeting. Total deviation is 9.9%. It is under that 10% maximum that we're allowed to have. This, again, is based off of a public map that we received called Fair 1. And then it uses Hecker Pass as a highway, again, similar to Draft D. However, the differences that we're seeing, particularly on the east, it does divide the east side between District 6 and District 4, while still achieving 4 majority and minority districts. So here are the street dividers. Again, Hecker Pass uses a divider. So District 1, everything above Hecker Pass is in District 1. Everything below that is in District 3. And then 3rd Street is also used as a divider for District 3 as well. Again, here we see the total deviation is 9.9%, and we do achieve for districts with Latino CVAP over 50%. So those are the draft maps that we are considering tonight. Once you pick a draft map that you want to select, that's when we're going to start talking about sequencing. So obviously your districts are up at different times. So it's a staggered election system like every other city. 3 districts are up in 2026. 3 districts are up in 2028. So when we start thinking about how we want to sequence it, we can think of a multitude of factors. This obviously includes public input, natural election cycles. So if there's somebody in District 6 who's up in 2026, could make sense to have that district up in 2026. And then, of course, areas that are historically underrepresented, oftentimes cities will use that as an opportunity to put those districts up first. So here is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about the draft maps, which ones you prefer, and then select a map to move forward with. And once you select a map to move forward with, we can't go back when we start talking about sequencing. So when we get into sequencing, that's when we can talk about things like incumbency. So that's why it's important to select a map first, and then we'll go over sequencing. And then at the end, when you select your sequencing, that's when you'll vote on the ordinance, which will include both the map and the final sequencing. So that's the presentation, pretty short, hopefully so we can obviously allow the public to give their input and then debate which map you would like to move forward with.
Okay, we'll start off with questions. Councilmember Klein.
Questions or comments?
For staff. Yeah, first comments, questions.
No, thanks for everything you've done. So I just say that. Thank you very much. You've worked really hard.
I have one question.
Really guided us, so thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Any others down here to my left? Councilmember Fugazzi.
So you went through all of the emails?
Yes.
Did you have a tally between the two?
I did, yes.
What was that tally?
From my count, I got 19 in favor of D, and then, I believe it should be 20 because we got a last minute email, so 20 in favor of D, and then 44 in favor of F.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I was going to ask the same question because it was a little unclear because you had a slide and then you changed. So thanks for clarifying that. So, Councilmember Hilton? No, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to move to public comment. And how many do we have?
Mr. Mayor and Council, at this time we have 14 speakers.
Okay, so we're going to have 14 speakers at 2 minutes each, please.
All right, so our first speaker is Kathy Napoli, followed by Joseph Robinson.
Good evening again. My name is Kathy Chavez Napoli, and I'm here to advocate for Map D. I think it's important for us to recognize that the numbers of 20 and 44 are not as important as preserving the communities of interest. Obviously, the east side has been marginalized for many, many years, and that side has not been represented. You have an opportunity because tonight is momentous. San Jose adopted district elections in 1978, and there was a tremendous increase in in representation from people of color. So you will always remember tonight, May 19, 2025, as a time where you're voting for a map that is going to be, number one, inclusive, one that is equitable, and one that will allow people who have been marginalized for so many decades to have a voice. So you have the opportunity to do that, and you will be remembered for the vote that you have tonight. So I strongly urge you to support D, because that preserves communities of interest and it meets all the other criteria. So I urge you to support and vote for D. Thank you.
Thank you. Bryce, can you call three at a time, so maybe the following two after Joseph can come up so we can move it along a little quicker?
Yes. So next speaker is Joseph Robinson, followed by Joanne Fierro, followed by Dan Donovan.
Okay. Hello, Council and Mayor. So the at-large elections that broke state law for creating racial polarization so obvious that it was pointless to challenge it in court gave us this all-white council. To this prickly, all-white city council, this move to district elections was a blow that could not go unanswered. As movement conservatives, for whom democracy is an unacceptable and provocative barrier, and who seek to overlook the needs, interests, and indeed the rights of the near supermajority of Gilroy's residents in order to gather power into their Babbitt hands, inquisition and countermeasure will be and can be their only response. Map D is the district map preferred by the better part of their constituency, whom they are dogmatically and ideologically hidebound to overlook. Namely, working-class families in Gilroy, on whose back the wealth of this city was built.
Thank you. Joanne's next, I believe.
Next speaker is Joanne Fierro, followed by Dan Donovan, and then Tanaya Stump.
It's no surprise I'm for Map D. I've mentioned it 3 or 4 or half a dozen times. I am definitely opposed to Map F, and this is why. This community of interest does not deserve to be split up. We are Gilroy because of our deep heritage amongst Native Americans and Latinos that have worked diligently to keep this community afloat. They deserve more. And I want to just pay attention to all the new events that this community has brought. The Tamal Festival, Frenda, that are in the news. They're bringing commerce to the downtown. It's vitality. It's important. Do the right thing. Don't split that community of interest up just to make some one person happy.
Next speaker is Dan Donovan, followed by Tanaya Stump, and then Jorge Mendoza.
Hello again, Mayor Bozo and City Council. I'm here in support of Map D. I'm not going to go through all of the points I tried to make in the letter for public comment, but basically I believe it represents what the community that brought the demand letter to you actually wants. So for myself, I won't be affected by the districts particularly. I mean, I have a city council member already that represents my geographic area. But I believe that from an economic perspective, maybe not from a racial perspective, but from an economic perspective, the people east of Monterey need to have their own city council member. And as Council Member Fugazi said, and Mayor Bozo, you kind of reiterated at the last council meeting, there may be the rule of unintended consequences that play out here. But we'll have 3 elections to go through this process, 2026, 2028, and 2030. And in 2031, we'll be looking at the next census, and we'll probably go through redistricting at that point. But by then, we'll have a lot of experience, and we'll know whether the results of this redistricting process actually work to the benefit of all citizens of Gilroy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Tanaya Stump, followed by Jorge Mendoza, and then Fabiola Bataz.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Tanea. I live on the east side. I am a longtime resident of Gilroy, and I'm a parent here. I do a lot of work with communities and families here in the city, and I want to express my support for MAP D. The east side has been historically left out of key decisions that take place in the city, and this is an opportunity to give the neighborhood and families like mine a real chance at representation. It reflects who we are. I understand that MAP F has a lot of appeal. It creates competitive districts, but those gains come at the expense of the East Side community, and I think you guys really need to take that into consideration. I know that she said there was 20 emails in support of MAP D and 40 in support of MAP F, and I think that illustrates some of the problem. Access, equity, and representation matters to this neighborhood. The goal is fair, effective representation, and MAP D does that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Jorge Mendoza, followed by Fabiola Bataz, followed by Alberto Lustre.
Buenas tardes, alcalde, miembros del concilio.
One moment, sorry.
Mi nombre es Jorge Mendoza. Yo he sido voluntario en la comunidad del este de Gilroy por más de 8 años. Creo que conozco, voy a decir un 95%, la realidad de aquel ambiente. Y he trabajado también por muchos años en el este de San José y en el este de Palo Alto. Y he mirado cómo esas comunidades se quedan marginadas por tener un solo representante. Yo estoy apoyando el Plan F. Esto porque yo creo en la diversidad, creo que donde quiera puede haber personas buenas que pueden hacer algo bueno por como dijo una persona, somos una sola ciudad, todos nos conocemos, entonces yo creo que sí puede haber representantes de cualquier lado de la ciudad que se preocupen por el este. Estoy en apoyo del Plan F. Y otra vez por la experiencia que tengo conociendo el este de Gilroy, el este de San José y el este de Palo Alto.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council members. My name is Jorge Mendoza, and I have lived here for many years. I have worked, and I tell this because I have worked and have a lot of experience working in the East. I know 95% of the reality. I have worked in San Jose, I have worked in Palo Alto, and I know what it means to have just one representative for one side of the city. That is why I am here to support the MAP F. And the thing is that I do this because I really believe in diversity. I think there's good people everywhere, as one person said. And we're one city, we know each other, and I support MAP F because I know how things work in East San Jose, East Gilroy, and East Palo Alto. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next speaker is Fabiola Bataz, followed by Alberto Lustre, and then Jesus Becerra.
Ready?
Yes,
All
2
right.
minutes, please.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Fabiola Bataz, born and raised here in Gilroy. I know you forever. I'm here in support of MAP D. I would like to see you guys all to vote for that too, because not just the adults, it also includes the kids, the workers, and everybody that's in that community. Our community on the east side deserves to be respected. Our history deserves to be honored. Our community deserves to be voiced and heard in City Hall. And the representation needs to be for everyone. And I mean everybody. Even our neighbors' dogs. Everybody. Everybody deserves that. It's a shame that a lot of city councils don't look to the public or to the community, and they still want to divide us in a way where we get our mouth closed. They put this little, you can't say nothing because the ones who vote here has the last word is you guys. Make a difference in somebody's life, especially the children that come up to look up to you guys, who want to be like you guys. Make that difference. What's not broken, don't fix.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker, Alberto Lustre, followed by Jesus Becerra, and then Armando Benavides.
Good evening, City Council. Alberto Lustre, longtime resident of Gilroy. Grew up in Gilroy, went to school in Gilroy.
And I'm here to support MAPD. The reason why is because it supports the entire neighborhoods. I live in Gilroy in so many neighborhoods, most of the time on the east side, but I lived actually on the westward part. I lived on actually 10th Street, and MAPD is actually the one that represents the community. Keep the old neighborhoods together. If you look at it, Gilroy, the east part of Gilroy is all downtown, and is the original neighborhood. The actual citizens of Gilroy that actually built the actual city of Gilroy, all the farm workers that still live on the east side. All the actual routes are actually in Gilroy that come from the east side, or the actual centralized part of Gilroy, 10th Street. And that map represents the community 100%. I urge you to actually support MAPD. Thank you for your time.
All right, next speaker is Jesus Becerra, followed by Armando Benavides, and then Sally Armendariz.
Yeah, give me a moment. I get nervous public speaking. My name is Chuy. I'm from the east side. Hi, I'm Chuy from the east side. I've been in the east side for 30 years. I've been working for nonprofits. I work on some of the campaigns for city council. And I'm asking you to make the ethical, logical choice. The whole point of getting maps from the district is to represent the people of the community. And they're telling you the main difference of one is that we're cutting a part of the community out in half. That is not logical. That is not the point of the district map. Other than that, ethical, the right thing to do is to have everybody have a voice. And you're not doing that. And I want that. I've been here for, like I said, since I've been like 13 years old. I want to see kids inspired by someone that's on the city council from their neighborhood because they made it happen. I want them to dream that they can make their community better. And today you have a chance. Because by putting D in effect, that's what we're telling the community. We believe in you. We're empowering you to make a difference in our community because we're all part of one community. We're united. And by choosing F, you're dividing the community. And I can tell you one thing. The people from the east side, we're still going to keep fighting because we want to be represented. We want to be heard just like you guys. And I'm just asking you to do the logical, ethical thing. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Armando Benavides, followed by Sally Armendariz and Rebecca Armendariz.
Good afternoon. Good evening, City Council. I support MAPD, and I urge you to adopt it. One thing I like about it, it was written by a community member who went out there and he took the time out to look what the needs of the community are, and I think that's great that it was written by a community member. MAPD maintains the integrity of the east side along the north-south orientation along Monterey Road. All those neighborhoods in that east side share a solid community of interest, and there's no way when you split that like MAP F does, I think you're doing is a disservice to the east side community and what you're doing. A fair analysis of MAPD allows one to easily conclude that it is the most equitable option presented. It aligns closely with the demographic, geographic, and community interests outlined in the demand letter. Most importantly, it creates a realistic opportunity for members of the proponents group to select a representative of their choice. Something that the demand letter noted has been historically lacking under Gilroy's at-large election system. By adopting MAPD, this council will not only demonstrate its commitment to fair representation, but it also will significantly reduce the city's legal exposure and the financial burden of litigation. I strongly urge you to prioritize equity, legal prudence, community input, saving our limited resources so that we don't have to go face a financial burden of litigation, and select MAPD as the right choice. No to F, yes to D. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Sally Armendariz, followed by Rebecca Armendariz, and then Aaron O'Brien.
Good evening to all of you, and I'm Sally Armendariz, and I'm here because to remind you that the California Voting Rights Act has existed since the year 2001, and it's time that this council abide by it. It was created to allow minority disenfranchised groups in California the right to be represented by someone who lives in their community and shares their interests and concerns. Today is the day that you, the existing council members, can show that all Gilroyans mean something to you and that you believe they should have equal and fair representation. As you sit here as city council person today, Your only concern should be what is fair representation to all Gilroyans. Are large minority areas of interest met? Because to manipulate a map is not legal. It's not legal and it's not honoring the Voting Rights Act and further, it is very, really illegal. You are our counsel, and I tell you, it's not only abiding the law, but honoring the intentions of the law, which is the right thing to do, and that is to have equal representation. And you've heard dozens of Gilroyans expressing how important it is to them to have fair representation in their community. Honor these residents. Gilroy is a town of many faces. Honor them. Don't be afraid of your neighbor who lives across town. They care about Gilroy too. Let them have representation. I recommend that you vote for map D, and I hope your conscience allows you to.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Rebecca Armendariz, followed by Aaron O'Brien, then Jorge Vargas.
Good evening. Rebecca and I are switching spots. Just want to take a moment, and I won't take the 2 moments, to speak in support of MAP D. I think it is clear that the East Side is a community of interest, and frankly, it is a community of interest that has been marginalized and not represented in the entire time I have lived down in Gilroy. So this is really an opportunity to give voice, and I think we're hearing clearly that the East Side wants a united voice. They want MAP D, and I think that the message that will be sent tonight if we don't select MAP D is really problematic. So I urge your support of MAP D.
Next speaker is Aaron O'Brien. Rebecca Armendariz, followed by Jorge Vargas, our final speaker.
Mayor, council members, Rebecca Armendariz, not Aaron O'Brien. We look a lot alike, but we're not the same person. Eastside Gilroy is a vibrant, culturally rich community where blue-collar Chicano and immigrant families have called home for generations, especially those still active or with historical connections to Gilroy's agricultural heritage. We are unequivocally a community of interest, and MAP F would break it up, in violation of the California Voting Rights Act and in absolute contrast to the reasons why district voting was initiated in the first place. Not only does MAP F break up our community of interest, by doing so, it appears to pack potential Latino voters in its Northeast District 6 by adding Latino voter-dense areas to the immediate west of Monterey Highway. It also creates a Southeastern District 4, which somehow has the densest population of Latino residents of any of its districts at 74%, but a much lower citizen voting age population at 58% than if those voters were represented in a district that kept the Eastside community of interest whole, potentially disenfranchising the voice of Latino residents. MAP D, on the other hand, would keep our community of interest a whole. We are a close-knit community. We share strong family values and cultural ties as well. Whether it's our houses of worship, celebrating the shared Mexican heritage and traditions of many of our families, from the Tamal Festival to our carne asadas at San Isidro Park to the quinceañeras at the IFDES Hall. We also share the experience of sending our kids to South Valley and Gilroy High School. I would encourage the City Council to consider the legal risks of supporting MAP F, given the issues, but you should do this because it's the right thing to do, not because of the threat of a lawsuit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Jorge Vargas.
Hello, everybody. Jorge Vargas here. I wasn't going to speak today, but I felt that I needed to. I did send Mr. Mayor an email last week, and I'm going to go ahead and read it off, not only to everybody here, but everybody in the public, and then also add my 2 cents at the end that I didn't add to my email. So, dear Mayor, I had the opportunity thoroughly to review the drafts. After careful consideration and discussions within friends and family members, the clear preference among us is Draft D. What stands out most about Draft D is how well it keeps neighborhoods and communities intact. This is essential for fostering unity and pride, especially in historically undeserved and lower income areas, as a lot of people have already spoken about. Although I live on Orchard Drive, my primary concern is ensuring the neighborhoods surrounding Las Animas Park and San Isidro Park remain together within the same district. Draft D accomplishes this, strengthening community identity rather than dividing it in general. Notably, it keeps South Valley Middle School and San Isidro Park in the same district, a thoughtful choice considering they are all only 1 minute's walking apart. The same logic applies to Las Animas Park, where Draft D maintains cohesion within its district. While my focus is on these two parks and their neighboring communities, The strengths of Draft D extend to the other districts as well. It reflects a more cohesive and community-centered approach across the entire city. And just to answer a couple of kind of general comments that have been said here, and I don't expect for translation. Yo vine a este país a los 5 años. Yo tuve la oportunidad de vivir en Salinas, en un barrio de bajos recursos, y yo tengo la experiencia de toda mi vida de 40 años, de que la representación de la comunidad es importante. Y Draft D hace eso.
Thank you.
Now, as our last speaker.
I'm sorry, that was last
That was
speaker.
our final
I'm sorry.
speaker.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, so moving back, Liz, why don't you come back up and also. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm closing the public hearing officially. Thank you. Why don't we start with questions, Councilmember Klein? Comments?
Yeah, no questions at this point. I just want to say this process has been 4 months of intense and I think great, just a lot of discussion by both the public, but also us as a council, with our attorney, demographer, and it was robust, and both in this setting, but also in the 2 public meetings we had, and also in our closed session. Although you can't be a part of that, there was a lot said in that really discussed the issues, and I know from my standpoint in dealing with this and confronting it and something we're doing, it's been robust, and at the end of the day, I think we've done a great job. So however this plays out, we can walk away knowing that we did the best job we could together.
Thank you. Councilmember Ramirez?
I'd just like to echo that. And thank you to everyone. There were a number of people that have spoken tonight, have spoken throughout this process. I know that a lot of us, most of us get, the same email addressed to all council members, and so we have been reading emails. Some of them have come individually, some of them have come directly to Bryce, and we have them here. And I just am very impressed, not just by how we've handled this and taken this very seriously, but by the community that has expressed strong interest in different maps that have come forth. So, and kudos to all those that took the time. We had 40 maps that were submitted. 40.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, roughly 40 maps that were people took the time to submit. So, and it was not easy.
Thank you. Councilmember Bracco?
Yes, I want to thank the community for all the emails and phone calls and stuff we have received. We got, one thing I noticed is residents of the east side preferred map F. And a lot of the emails we got were Spanish, and they wanted map F. I live in the east side, and not only do I live in the east side, my family has been in the east side of Gilroy for over 150 years. So I'm tied to that community. I've seen it change a lot over the years. When I was in school, I remember they'd say, "Oh, you're from the other side of the tracks." And there's always been that stigma of the east side of Gilroy. And I like this map because it adds a little bit of Monterey, the other side of Monterey Street onto it. And it splits it up, and it gives it a chance to have 2 representatives instead of 1. It's almost a third of the city. I think it's only fair that it be represented by more than 1 person. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugazzi?
Yeah, I'd first like to thank the entire community from all sides of Gilroy to reach out, to provide their feedback on this process, and to my fellow council members and mayor as well as we go through this process, having prepared for this process by watching other cities, and today even by council making comments to us, we handled it in a way, not just as a council, but as a city, that we should be extremely proud of, because these things don't go like this. And if you talk to any of the professionals, and she's nodding her head over there, it's much, much different. And I applaud people that have the desire to have one map or the other, and doing it in such a civil and amazingly, brotherly fashion for the city, I'll say. I will echo a little bit of what Councilmember Baracco over here said, which is when I take a look at it from a how do you get the most representation standpoint in the city and in the east side of the city, having two representatives that can work together in two majority minority districts that are coming of it. It's not like making one of them that's a minority district, a minority district, or however you couch that. You actually have a chance to have more representation on the council and to bring things forward for the community that you want to have and work together. So I think there's a lot of advantage to have that, as well as to keep the downtown area kind of together in one particular district, at least the historic downtown area, to vie for that. So I just want to give that feedback.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for presenting tonight. It's given me a lot of food for thought, because I am divided. I'm the one who put D on, and yet F makes a lot of sense to me after reading a lot of the emails about how a lot of the Spanish-speaking people wanted F because it gave them more representation on the east side. So I don't know, when it comes time to vote, I don't know which way I'm going tonight.
I have a few comments. I just want to give some feedback. First of all, thank you everybody who's been here tonight and has been a part of this for the past 8 meetings. We had a legal obligation. I know there's a lot of words used tonight about legal. We had a legal obligation to do 5 of these meetings, and we did 8 of these meetings. So I appreciate everybody staying with us for that period of time. I want to give my experience when I first got started doing maps. If you didn't get to play around with a map maker, it's easy to get consumed by making a map, because you become intensely focused on trying to build a jurisdiction or a district, and the moment that you think that you've perfected it, you've imperfected the other district. And that was a challenge, I think, for all of us throughout this map-making process, is that the moment that you think that you're almost at perfection on one, the other one's not. So then and it takes it out of contention. So then you have to start moving and reconsidering and talking to people about seeing what they want in this community. So I also want to echo what Mr. Donovan said earlier. I appreciate your words, because this is not a very easy process. This is new to all of us. And what Mr. Donovan was saying is that, regardless of what happens today, I think I'm going to use some of your words here, sir, but regardless of what happens today, we are going to have districts here in a very short time. And this is something that I know that some people in this community didn't think was possible for a very long time. So please keep that in mind, and that, as Mr. Donovan said, and as we have sort of joked about before, that in a very short time we are going to be doing this again, and it's going to be based on a lot of new census data coming up in 2030. So, this is our chance to do the very best we can. But as I said earlier, when you try to build a district and you think it's perfect, the other ones are not. And so when this finishes tonight, it will be imperfect. So I just want to leave you with those comments. And any other comments? So the first thing that we need to do as a council is to select map D or map F. And I'm looking for anybody for a motion.
I'll throw it out there. I'll make a motion to accept map F.
So I have a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Klein and a second by Councilmember Fugazi to select map F as the official district map. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, thank you everybody for working through that. The next thing that we need to do is determine which of the districts in map F will go first. And let's just go quickly back to Liz to hear a little bit more about districting.
Yeah.
Please.
So sequencing, I believe we have in our agenda posted online, evens are up in 2026 and odds are up in 2028. But you do get to renumber the districts. So if you would like to consider things like potentially where you are on the map or ensuring that certain areas that are underrepresented go up first, these are sort of the things that we can consider when selecting our sequencing. So if there are naturally 3 districts that would go up in 2026, let us know because I do not know where you guys live.
So I'll start on the right this time. Councilmember Bracco.
Well, we got number 4 has no one right now. Number 6, I'm up. And I believe number 5, the representatives in that area are up. So I would just say 4, 5, and 6. I'll make that a motion.
I'd second that.
Okay, I would like to explain what you just said to the public, if you don't mind. So Councilmember Bracco, his motion is that he's suggesting that if you look at the map here, that the Zone 6 and the Zone 4, which are the 2 districts of the east side, he believes that those should be 2 of the 3 that should be up in 2026. They should go first, right? And the reason why he said that he lives there, he lives in number 6. So basically, he's an incumbent. He's up for election in 2026. So he can either elect to run against somebody from Zone 6, because that's the zone that he lives in. Did I get that correct? Correct so far? Okay. And in Zone 5, when he said the others are up, that means that Councilmember Klein and Councilmember Marks live in the same district. And now that we've chosen map F, that District 5, that if they decide to run for election in 2026, they have to run against each other. So I believe this is why he's saying this is the most fair way to do it. Okay. So.
And then number 4 is empty.
And 4 is empty, so there will be a new council member for sure coming from District 4. And I want to add, in District 5, if they run against each other, of course, anybody else who lives in District 5 can run against them as well.
What it also does is brings it to the forefront of 26, where you get that election to happen on those 3 districts.
Yes.
And I think that that's the imperative part of this process, is to allow that to happen sooner than later. And this allows that.
Okay. So we do have a motion by Councilmember Bracco and a second by Councilmember Fugazi. I think I had that right. That districts 4, 5, and 6 will be the first to go in 2026. Did I get that wording correct?
That's right.
Okay. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
Yes. Okay, now we're going to move on to the third item of consideration, and why don't you take it from there?
Oh, I believe I'll turn that over to the city attorney. I think that's residency requirement.
Yes, so just briefly, that's a question of whether council members who want to be elected in a district need to live in that district for some period of time prior to the election. There are cases on this, and there's actually law. There's law in California that says the city can require a council member to live in the district prior to filing nomination papers, however, only for a maximum of 30 days. So in front of you is a decision about whether you want to require that somebody, in order to run in a district, be a resident of that district prior to the time they fill out their nominating papers for between 0 and 30 days. Right now, with council members elected at large, there is no residency requirement. The charter only requires that council members be residents and electors of the city of Gilroy when they fill out their nominating papers. But you can require for these districts anything between 0 and 30 days. Yes.
Now, it just says, what, somebody just says, I live here? Or do they have to show that they live there by a utility bill or a driver's license or something?
Initially, the way these things work, we haven't had that issue in Gilroy, but other cities have. And if it's challenged, then there can be a court case about residency where people have to prove residency by whatever means are appropriate, including the kinds of things you talked about.
That would be from another candidate pushing it, right?
That could happen. That has happened in other cities, certainly.
Okay.
But that's no different than now, correct?
Yeah, it is no different than now, that's correct. Except that it's district-wide instead of city-wide.
Sure.
Or would be.
So, Andy, why wouldn't the city clerk ask for proof of residency? Because it just seems to me like we've gone through this districting, so you had proper people or people living in the community of interest, and now it seems like it doesn't matter. You know,
no, that's not true. That's not true.
No, I think the city clerk would ask for proof of
they
residency.
would.
They would.
Yeah. Okay.
They would.
But these things can be challenged.
They do now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do now, and they will then.
Well, no, from what Andy was saying, it was like it had to be challenged by another person.
No.
But
Could be.
it could be. But the city clerk. Suppose the city clerk noticed that the person was not part of that district. Would he or she deny the person from running?
The process is going to be no
But
different
he's
than
saying
now.
that could happen.
Well, it could.
But I want to hear it will happen.
Councilmember Mark, sorry, I'm going to help because I thought we already said it. So I just want to reiterate, it's no different than it is now, right? When we put in our papers to run at large, right, we could be challenged at that point by any member of the community, right? If someone's challenging that we don't live in Gilroy, they can challenge it, and nothing is going to change when we go to districts. Nothing. That's what you're saying.
Right, except the residency will be by district.
Of course,
at large.
of course.
All
But
right.
the process is the same.
The process would be the same, yes.
Okay. So what about could it be a citizen that would challenge it instead of a candidate?
That has happened elsewhere.
All
yes.
right. Okay. It's just when you say I could, it makes it really ambiguous.
I think in the sense, in the sake of keeping things normal as far as continuous, I don't see the need to go to, say, 30 days. I think it's been this way in our charter, and it's worked. So to me, I think leave it alone the way it is. That's just my thought. You can.
I agree.
Yeah. No, it's not 30 days.
I have a preference for 30 days.
You have a filing deadline.
There is not one.
Yeah, it's your filing deadline basically to file for and get qualified, but it has nothing to do with the residents. So I'm good with keeping it the way it is.
Councilman Fugati?
Yeah, I would make a motion right now to put it to 30 days, as is the maximum by law.
I would second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second that the residency requirement is 30 days. All those in favor?
Aye. Well, do you need a roll call?
We should do a roll call again, yes. It'd be better.
Sorry, roll call.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
No.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
No. Motion passes 5-2.
Did I get that right? Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so a little bit more business here.
So that really completes the substantive part. However, now it's in order to have a motion to read the ordinance by title only and waive further reading. And the ordinance would be redrafted from the one that is in the packet slightly to encompass what the tentative votes that you've just taken.
Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to read the ordinance by title only and waive further reading.
A motion?
I'll second.
Sorry, I think I have a motion from Councilmember Klein and a second by Councilmember Ramirez to motion to read the ordinance by title only and waive further reading. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
Yes, motion passes 7-0.
So now the clerk should read the ordinance by title only, as he's just been authorized to do.
Yes, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gilroy to establish the election of members of the City Council by 6 districts, establish the boundaries, identification numbers, and the election order of each district, establish a residency requirement to seek a council seat from each district, and related actions.
I will entertain a motion that was just read by the city clerk.
And for the record, that would be to introduce the ordinance with the specifications that the council has just voted on.
A motion?
So I have a motion by Councilmember Fugazi and
I'll
a second
second.
by Councilmember Klein. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Pardon me? No. Okay, I am going to call for a 15-minute break. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
should be. I meant to remind him. I skipped one thing.
Oh, yeah, right. I think I was the only person that skipped.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're back up to the mess. back to work. Back to work.
Yeah, you try to keep people good, and every once in a while you track and, what's up? What's his name?
You guys ready? Where's TC? Okay, thank you everybody, or the few remaining, for coming back from the break. And we are going to move right on backwards to public hearing, item number 8.1. Public hearing pursuant to Government Code Section 3502.3, AB 2561, to receive a report on City of Gilroy vacancies and recruitment and retention efforts. Leanne, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. I don't understand why the audience really thinned out right before my presentation. I won't take it personal, I guess. So tonight is a presentation. It's a public hearing on implementing AB 2561, which is a new requirement that we have to comply with. So I'm going to walk you through that and then talk to you about what our current vacancy rates are, and then I can talk to you a little bit about recruitment and retention efforts and take any questions that you might have. So what is AB 2561? This is a California Assembly bill that passed in 2024, and it became effective on January 1st, 2025. And it's a part of the Myers-Milius-Brown Act, which is the act that governs our employee relations and labor relations processes that we have with our employee groups. And this requires us to hold a public hearing regarding position vacancies before we adopt a budget. So that's why this is on tonight's agenda, because we have budget adoption scheduled for June 2nd. And so the plan is to do this tonight, so it happens before you adopt the budget. So we have to report on the status of vacancies by bargaining unit. We have to provide information on our recruitment and retention efforts, and we have to talk about any obstacles or challenges that we have in our hiring process. Then there are additional obligations that the law adds on to the reporting if the vacancy rate in a bargaining unit exceeds 20%. And fortunately, none of our vacancy rates reach that level. So we don't have to do the additional reporting. So what are Gilroy's bargaining groups? And most of these you're familiar with, but for the public, we have our employees broken down into 5 groups. 4 of them are formal recognized bargaining units, AFSCME Local 101, our Gilroy Police Officers Association, our Gilroy Management Association, and IAFF, Gilroy Firefighters Local 2805. And then every full-time employee that's not in one of those groups is in the unrepresented group. And that could be appointed positions, department heads, or confidential employees. So that's how our employees are organized across the different employee groups. So what is our vacancy rate by bargaining group? So you can see up on the chart that we have 291 full-time positions. We have 29 vacancies, so our overall vacancy rate is about 10%, or it is 10%. And then the vacancies by bargaining group is broken out. We have different vacancies within each unit. And in the staff report that was provided to you and in your packets that you received, I went into details about each of the vacancies that we have, and I'm happy to discuss those if you would like to. But these are the number of vacancies we have currently in each bargaining unit, and we're working on all of our different recruitment processes right now. We have candidates in different phases of hiring processes for most every opening that we have. So this is dynamic. This is changing all the time. This is a snapshot in time when we were preparing this report. So probably there's a couple changes I can think of that even have happened since this report was written that we've moved on to offers to candidates for positions. And then also some turnover data. This is 2024, so calendar year 2024. This is the turnover that we experienced here in the city. We had 8 retirements, 7 voluntary resignations, and then 5 involuntary resignations, which would be like a release from probation, a termination, or someone who resigns in lieu of being released from probation or being terminated. So there were 20 positions that turned over, and then it's broken out by group here. And if anyone has any questions as I'm talking, feel free to ask. And then we are in the reporting were to go over recruitment and retention efforts. So we wanted to touch on a few of these items so that you're aware of the different recruitment and retention efforts that we go through here in the city. And I have to give a little shout out to my team in Human Resources. We're a small and mighty team, but everyone on the team pitches in and works on recruitments in some way, shape, or form. And we wouldn't be able to move forward with all the hiring and all the introductions of new employees that you see from time to time at your meetings, all the promotions and things that we announce and bring forward. Those wouldn't happen without the efforts of everyone on the team. And actually, everyone on city staff, because every manager and supervisor in the operating departments are working on recruitments and making it a high priority to get vacant positions filled. So a few things to touch on: easy application process and improved candidate experience. So we use an online platform called NeoGov Insight. It makes it really easy for candidates to apply for jobs. It keeps track of every single recruitment, every step, every phase of the process. Makes it super easy to have 30 or 40 recruitments going at any one time. We can look and see exactly where every candidate is in the process and what notifications have been sent to them, what reminders we send out for interviews, any step of the process. It's organized and cataloged in this online platform that we utilize. And it's very flexible. It allows us to post the recruitment process, have different interview questions, or not interview questions, but application pre-screening questions, and it just makes the hiring process really easy. And then just trying to have a great candidate experience. Every candidate that applies for a job with the City of Gilroy gets a response. Might not be a "you've got the job" response, because typically only one person gets the job, and we might have a number of applications for a job. But every candidate gets a response and knows the status of where they are in the recruitment process. And so that happens through this platform. We also try to really make a very open and positive process. We do, like in the police department and fire department, there's sit-alongs and ride-alongs and ways that people can learn about a job so that they know what they're getting into when they come through the hiring process. We've also had the ability to reduce a lot of our recruitment timelines, and that's facilitated but not only by the online process, but by really evaluating each recruitment. There's some recruitments that are very popular, and we can post it for only 5 or 7 days, and we'll have 100 applications. So for those recruitments, we don't leave it posted any longer than that. So we're trying to look for ways to shorten up the timeline of our recruitment processes when we know we're going to have a large candidate pool. So we've been able to save a lot of time in the hiring process by shortening that posting period up. And then we use a lot of different avenues for testing, and we've eliminated a lot of written tests for positions in lieu of practical tests and interview questions, and have allowed candidates to take certain exams at colleges or other locations, and they can submit their test results with their application so they don't have to show up on a particular day at a particular time to take a test. We also have an expedited rehire process. Right now we're hiring for summer camp programs, and many of our applicants are coming back from prior summer. So we have an expedited hiring process to bring those candidates on quickly and get them back into the queue for those hiring needs that we have. We have a review of the job description before we commence the recruitment to make sure we're focusing on the right things, and the managers really help us with that. And then we have them fill out a very simple, easy to fill out recruitment request form, which gives us all the information at one time on one form so we can quickly move to posting a position for recruitment. So we're not hunting around for information or details. We get it all at once from the hiring manager. We do a lot of outreach and advertising for positions. The most popular way people find out about our jobs, believe it or not, is our City of Gilroy website, and also the social media posts that we put out to the community about our open jobs. Our community communication and engagement folks really do a great job of posting our positions. And then NeoGov Insight, the system we use, is tied to governmentjobs.com. And that is, one of the other most popular ways that people find out about our jobs. Because if they're looking for a job in local government, they tend to go to this particular site because they know all the cities use this platform. We also recently implemented an employee referral program, and we recently provided some, over this last about 18 months, about 12 of our employees received referral bonuses for referring candidates that we hired, and if they get $500 if we hired the candidate that they referred, and then they get another $500 if that candidate passes probation. So that's been a very positive and successful program, and our employees are really great ambassadors of the city and really focus on recommending people who they would want to work with, who are good, solid people that would be great for the job. And so that's been very helpful to us in our hiring. Occasionally we use search firms. I won't go into the details of that, but occasionally for high-level positions or hard-to-fill positions, we use search firms. And then, as you know, through our collective bargaining process, that's where we address wages, hours, and working conditions. And so we try to stay as competitive as we can afford and as possible so we can attract and retain high-quality employees. And then all of us as employees of the city, managers of the city, focus on having a positive work environment and a positive employee culture. And believe it or not, the reputation of Gilroy and what it's like to work here is one of the positive things that we hear a lot from applicants. Is I've heard so many good things about working for the city of Gilroy that I want to be a part of this organization. I want to come to work here. And maybe this young man sitting in the front row here who's observing tonight's council meeting, he'll nod his head that he wanted to come work here. And so he's new to our team and is enjoying his position and had heard great things about working here and wanted to come join the team. And lastly, we're trying to develop programs that help to build our bench, whether it's our college summer intern program or our part-time police cadet program. We have different programs in place to try to get people ready to be candidates for jobs. We're finding that we have to do that more. We have to build our own bench so that we get good candidates for positions and just really help guide them and steer them to positions. We sometimes attend job fairs and events at the different high schools and the community college to help folks realize that there are really good careers in local government, and sometimes folks don't think about working for their city, but it really is a rewarding career. I can speak for that myself. The work is rewarding. You really feel like you're doing something special and making a difference in your community, and that really appeals to a lot of people. So it's a continuous effort. We're continuing to work on it. We do have some challenges with high-level positions and highly technical positions. The applicant pools are much smaller, but no different than any other city. I talk to the HR directors in other cities constantly, and they will tell you that they have the same challenges in filling certain technical positions, and so those ones just take a little bit more time and care to find the right person for the position. So those are some of the things that we are doing. Tonight's report is a state mandate, so we are complying with that by holding tonight's hearing. And then the recommended action is for you to receive the report and conduct the public hearing. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Otherwise, you should take public comment in the public hearing.
Questions for Leanne? Okay, we'll go to public comment.
We have no speakers for this item.
Okay, last chance for questions for Leanne. Okay, so we're not looking for a motion or anything. It was just direction.
Receive the report.
We've received it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to 9.1. Yep. Okay. Moving on to unfinished business 9.1, strategic planning session number 4, council legislative agenda, public safety, and the unhoused staff.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to do this from here so I can write, but I don't have a lot of slides, and so we are down to probably the last 3 topics that we would like some council input and direction for concerning your strategic planning process. The first topic that we will have tonight is the unhoused. We did not get a lot of comments about this, but this was a subject matter that the council wanted to continue to talk about. So I will show you those notes. And there were 3 basic concepts about our unhoused community. And the first was the disproportionate population amount, given Gilroy's size in comparison to other cities in the county and given our size of the unhoused population. Working with outside agencies, the unhoused services, and part of that was policy direction to staff, and then an equal application of law. And I think that considered crime in vehicles. So I'll pause there and take feedback from the council about anything you may want to discuss concerning this topic.
Councilmember Fugati.
How do you see, there's a great deal of push from the state and certainly in other local cities in terms of the requirement of the unhoused to take services or have some form of consequences, and then also with Proposition 1 and these things. How do you see any of that fitting into Gilroy? I know obviously it's our decision to do those things, but as far as execution and whatnot.
Yes, Mr. Fugazi, you've seen in many cities now that they're passing ordinances and laws and exactly of that type. That if folks after certain numbers of times decide that they don't want to accept services, that there is some consequences to that. So that could be a policy direction from the council. The city of San Jose, which you're probably familiar with, has attempted to start doing things like that. So there are models out there in different variable degrees of what the council would expect for Gilroy.
I mean, I don't know that there's any direct direction from me towards one way or the other, but I think it would be a good idea to have on the work plan some way of seeing how that can make sense and what those processes would be, especially in light of any new facilities coming, on board, where it would be an alternative for people to go to, or part of the process of not complying with moving out of certain public spaces or what it may be to then move them to some of these other facilities. I know that is a big push that's going on right now, and I'd like to make sure that we are looking at it, studying it, and understanding what our options are.
Councilmember Ramirez.
So I know that in very recent, you even sent an email out about something being proposed being built in Gilroy. I know it's probably too early to ask questions about that because we don't have the information yet. But I think that moving forward, it's, I anticipate that you will keep us abreast of the movement on that and the impacts and the implications that will come, because I think as we move in, if we do move in that direction, we need to have some kind of a say in that and, determine what kind of impacts that might have and either support it or, somehow be involved in that process.
And vie for our slice of the county services that, especially since we're so disproportionate that we can have, whether it be, we now are working to, if we're going to have somebody who is non-compliant, that there is a facility that is coming online in Santa Clara County, but up north, and that we can find places for, I think I mentioned it in our first session that we had, which is we have to understand that there are different needs for different people, and often we've put the housing thing, which is important, as the only thing. And we have to be prepared to find other ways to help some of the people who don't want that as an option.
Go ahead.
Jimmy, what about the governor? He came out and said to get rid of them. That's basically what he said. So what are we going to do about that?
I would say there is a big push from Sacramento. I also think that there's been a lot of money distributed from the state for these programs, and so that's something that we as a city of Gilroy need to consider if we want to really get that money and utilize it here. There are pros and cons, but I really couldn't say much about the governor saying get rid of them. I think what the message is work harder to connect them to services. Work harder to the voters have voted for billions of dollars of programs in this state, and in many levels they're really being underutilized. And so I think that's the message I would take away, is that we all have to work harder to try to connect these folks and have tools to do so. We did have some movement in legislature about conservatorship, things like that, but that's not an easy process. But I think what the governor's advocating for is to use every tool that you have out there and do something.
Yeah, I see that the same way, and and Mayor Mahan as well, and San Jose is taking some pretty drastic things as well, looking at this. But it is about giving services to some of those really, really severe people who are in the throes of bad dependence or mental health issues. That it's not just, hey, you got to get rid of them, but it's let's find a place for those particular people. And everybody else, yeah, you can't be there if we've got a place for you to go. And a lot of places you just can't be there.
I would just say, as we go down that road, you look at the successes, but you can see the failures. We see in the big cities the failures where billions and billions of dollars have just been wasted. And there's got to be that accountability, not just for the person that we're dealing with, but the accountability with us as a city and what we're doing with that issue. So it's important to have accountability at every level. I think that's moving forward to one of the big things that I look at for this.
And I think it's important that we continue to have a seat at the table when these decisions are being made, especially given the disproportionate number that we have here that, we advocate for the dollars necessary, but I think that we also, given that we're dealing with most of these unhoused, we need to be at whatever regional table there is where these issues are being discussed and where the money is being distributed.
Our numbers justify the need.
Yes.
Well, and sadly, there's also somewhat of a little bit of a turf war, so to speak, out there between people who are housing first and all of the money that's going into that, versus pulling certain people off the street and putting them into other types of care. And so, I think that tide is turning quite a bit.
Yes.
And we need to be there so that when those opportunities arise for us to grab money or to use some of the services, that we're ready to help take that on for some of these people.
What I would like to see is that this council give specific direction. We have really a lot of good suggestions already, but they're kind of out there and ambiguous. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see us sit down and discuss what should be done first, second, third. San Jose seems to have really put a lot of things in place, and I would like to see us do the same, and sooner rather than later.
But we're not getting specifics tonight.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No,
right.
this is for
Sure.
a future agenda item that hopefully.
So I would like, Councilmember Hilton, I'll comment as well. There's nothing that's been said here tonight that I don't agree with. I really want to focus in on what a few of you have already said, and that is a regional approach. I do believe that our city staff could serve our unhoused better and Gilroy better by having a seat at the table, right? So we can determine, what's best for Gilroy, and at the same time, maybe have a unified voice for down here in South County. So we get both. So that's what I would like to see go into our work plan and in our legislative action is what you guys have already said with that regional approach. Further comments on house? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'll move on to public safety. And that discussion had 7 bullets that we wrote down: public safety, law and order, adequate police staffing. With that, you also talk about service levels, recruitment staffing, crime data, fireworks, development practices, and basic public safety services. So hopefully this triggers your memory back from February about these concerns or things you wanted to talk about.
Go ahead, Councilmember Ramirez.
Okay. So a number of us were on the campaign trail. We heard loud and clear that public safety is an issue. We had a tax measure on the ballot that failed, but given the amount of time and the amount of energy putting it out there and marketing it, I think that with over 60% of the voters voting in favor of it, that's a litmus test that tells me that we need to focus on public safety. We've had a third party report with LAFCO, speaking about the needs on the fire side. I don't know if we need a third-party needs assessment on the police side. I was shocked to find out that one had not been done prior to the tax being put on the ballot. But I believe that we need to make sure that we move towards enhancing our staff and making sure that we are providing competitive wages so that we can not only attract but retain the best of the best in public safety. I think we owe it to this community, and we owe it to our public safety officers who are working for us.
I too was somewhat confused after getting the budget, as well as hearing from the chief, and also being involved in some of the meetings for the tax increase. And so the confusion for me lies in that in order to go out to say to the community that we need to have a tax increase, whether you're from 2805 Fire, you're from the POA, to me it means that you believe that you are understaffed and that the city has told you the only way for you to get more staff is to find more money, and the only way to get more money is going to be through this tax. And then to hear the other side, which is we don't know if we need more people. This is from the last meeting, which I wasn't in attendance. I watched it back. We don't know if we need more people because of beat system and a bunch of arcane stuff that I don't exactly understand. So those things don't all line up for me, because it, to me, means that either the police officers and the firefighters that were vying for this, I even went to a meeting where a captain was giving a presentation, of why this is important. So either they didn't get it right, or the chief has got a different story. It just seems everything doesn't quite line up. And so I think that it is a good idea. I don't know how, I'm new and I don't know how this stuff works, but yes, a third-party way of understanding what our service levels are, how these beats line up, or whatever it may be, in any way that we can have that understanding as we go forward certainly helps steer us in the direction which is not just our gut. I mean, all of us can listen to people in the community and say we need more of this or we need more of that, but the reality is that's just a gut feeling. And I would have thought, too, that we would have done that before we went to go look for tax, but no, it's not the case. So anyway, yeah, I would support that, Kelly.
Okay. Well said, both of you. Well.
All right. Lastly is your legislative agenda, and I put on here the legislative agenda from fiscal year 24 and 25. And essentially what the legislative agenda is, we adopt it in the 2-year budget cycle, and it identifies policies or types of programs. Typically programs, if the council approves, we'll put those in our work plan, but policies we tend to leave on the legislative agenda, and that will save you from having to do a fair memo. And say, for instance, you want to do something, let's say you're going to ban something in town. You just don't want to have it anymore. Instead of having to do a fair memo, you can put it on the legislative agenda, and we'll essentially do that fair memo for you. We'll put it through the process of getting on a council agenda, but it simplifies that for everyone, and or it'll be included on a work plan if it's a program. Council members recommend items for the legislative agenda. Staff does not. But then council, with the vote of 4 of you, need to direct us to include them on the legislative agenda that you'll approve on June 2nd. So if you don't have enough information or you're not too sure about what's being asked of you, we can do that and make that clear when we return on the 2nd. So in previous years, many of these ended up in our housing element or in other policies in the department, but you can see some of the items that council 2 years ago said we would like this to be on our legislative agenda. Safe parking policy is one that we did bring to council. So most of this stuff has been addressed. Plan for a community youth center. We're doing the Civic Center master plan. review the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. So these are things that you've seen, for those of you who have been here the last 2 years, come through on your agenda or been resolved in some other manner. So these are just examples, but again, we as staff look for you to tell us what you would like to include on that agenda.
So Jimmy,
just a quick question. You gave an example of a policy. Can you give an example of a program, like from even up here?
Program. Well, I'm trying to look here. Okay, so.
Or even just come up with something.
I'm sorry, I'm really stuck.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Any program. Let's say you want to provide a service to the community, or you want to start how about this one? An adopt a spot program in town to pick up garbage. That's some of those things that don't really fit in some areas, and put it on the legislative agenda, and then we can put that on our work plan. But really, if you look at what we have here, like explore a transit first policy, that was Councilmember Hilton a couple of years ago. It's just something that is out there as a policy he wanted the rest of the council to look at and consider.
So then, things that we have talked about already, that we have approved in terms of giving direction to council, do those need to be on here then? For example, what comes to mind to me when you said program, and I'm just could be way off, is we've asked to look at bringing back the swim program.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be kind of on that, or is that, no, we've already gotten direction from you, we're already working on it, it doesn't need to be on here.
You're right. We already have direction. We're returning in a future meeting to do that, so that would not be something that you would advocate. But one thing that was mentioned a while ago was like the reserve policy and infrastructure, things like that. That could be a program or a policy you'd want to evaluate. Like I said, safe parking policy, I'll give you an example of how that one worked. There was a desire to have safe parking for the unhoused, for RVs and vehicles, and we did go through that process. We did do an RFP for it, but did not identify a suitable vendor who could provide a space. So we did do that. We did explore it. So that's a policy and a program, but it just never came to fruition, but we did go through the process.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you want me to go down all of these all at once and we go through them one by one, or how do you want to go about that? Because I have a number of things. So you just may hit on each one as I go, or you want to go round robin, or what do you want to do?
I have multiple also, so I would say I don't want to throw all mine out at once either. I don't think you should either. I think you should do it one by one.
Yeah, I think so too. So the first thing I'd like to bring up actually is a rewind to the budget meeting that you guys had, since I wasn't there, and wanted to bring up because some of it came to light even subsequent to that was a meeting that we had recently, is considering how we're going to pay for what has been described as a need for more code enforcement officers for the city. And that was brought up in the last meeting. I think Mayor brought that up at that time. In looking at the budget and looking at the head count that was going out, there's 3 head count that's going into recreation. And in looking at the funding, it appears that there's like $1.5 million that we identified that basically gets transferred from general fund into the recreation department. That's correct, right? And so what I wanted to propose and see what my colleagues thought about this is that rather than, well, and just so you know, for those that don't know, the recreation department ran about a $400,000 surplus for the last couple of years after getting the $1.5 million. So there's a fund as well that's still there. So I was thinking we reduce that number down to $1 million or $1.1 million or something close to that, and we take those funds, and Jimmy, you identify for us what you think is the adequate level of code enforcement officers that we need in the city, given now that you know kind of how this council is really active for the gateways and for beautification and all of these things that we need to do, and then see about transferring, if it's 1 head count or 2 head count, into code enforcement. And then the second thing to do with that would be to set aside some of those funds for when we have the economic development director come on board, that we can just kind of put aside in case in that department we find that we'll need another headcount in that particular department. We have those funds readily available to fill that without having to worry about it. So that's what I was proposing to the rest of you and obviously to Jimmy, and appreciate the discussion.
Just a clarifying question. This is to work on over the next 2 years, not in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
It felt like a
you were trying
budget
to pitch this in 2 weeks.
for the budget in 2 weeks. That's what I thought too. So that's
For this budget coming up,
Yeah.
to make that change.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not what this is for.
Correct, but I'm saying we had that discussion last week, and so what I'm doing right now is raising this as the discussion point for when we ultimately make that Jimmy could go back and make the changes necessary to make that happen.
So how about this, right? So as he said, you started off with that sentence was consider how to pay for more code enforcement. So if we get to that point and we have funds for more code enforcement, that's what you're saying,
Right.
correct? That then we need to get on the legislative agenda. What are we doing with it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. All I'm saying is that with it running previously at a $400,000 surplus,
Yeah.
right, that those funds are available to us if we didn't shift them into the recreation fund. And in light of what you said and what I think many of us believe in needing more code enforcement officers, and even Mr. Forbes said that this is something that we could use in the city. It's basically saying, yes, recreation is important, but driving top-line revenue and getting our city in a point that we can earn more on the top line means more recreation, and there's a $3 million fund that's there for them to do great things like pickleball courts with anyway. That's where I'm going with it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think I need to clarify, because what we are talking about is a policy and a program to do for the next 2 years. If you want to have that conversation, that's what we should have on the second, and the opportunity to do that allows you to either adopt a budget that can put that aside for the moment, and let's say the council says we don't want to send $1.5 million over to recreation, we want to send 1.1. That will take us some time, and we also have impacts and administrative things we need to do to implement that. So to get that approved, I think for the July 1 budget will be a challenge, because I think it'll take considerable council discussion about what you want to do with the recreation department. I just think that's going to be hard to do in the next 2 weeks.
I don't. I just didn't exactly understand, because it does apply to the legislative agenda to some degree. I don't understand if we already were spending the money and we were already in surplus and we're already running a surplus into there. How much administrative work is it taking? Because it's not money that's necessary even to run the department. So it's not as if you're going to have to reduce the department headcount or anything of that nature, right?
But when I mean administrative, I also mean legislative, because we have a direction, we have a resolution from council to say we're moving $1.5 million into the recreation fund, and money that is created above and beyond that is for growing the recreation department. So if that is a policy decision of the council to change that, I think that is that's something that you will have to decide as a group if that's what you want to do.
So we could put a fair memo in and get that into.
I would say the point of this is to bypass the fair memo. It's to give a very quick throw out and try to get a majority to put something on the legislative agenda that we'll adopt on June 2nd and then work on it over the next 2 years. I think that's what you're trying to get at. Is that's where this will jump. If for some reason you don't get a majority here, then yeah, you would have to write a fair memo, but this is bypassing the fair memo process.
What I'm trying to say is that in this budget that we are about to pass.
I think you're out of time.
Really?
Yeah, to get it done. That's what my gut's telling me from being through this.
But as I said, I could write a fair memo and bring it to council, right? And then vote specifically on this in terms of reassigning the funds from one account to another account. That happens all the time. I mean,
yes, you can, but I think I'm learning her too, but I think what you want, right, as we look forward the next year or two, hopefully sooner than 2 years, but what you want is to look at more ways to do more code enforcement. How to use code enforcement better.
Correct.
You said that. And you also want to be able to have some flexibility with economic development.
Correct.
I recommend that you leave it at that. That goes on the legislative agenda. Then you still need to work on legislating with the rest of council in the next 2 weeks to get to some of those financial ideas that you have. I think they need to be kept separate.
Okay.
I get that right? Yeah. So stick with your, consider how to pay for more code enforcement and diversity and economic development, just with this item. And then come on June 2nd, we'll figure out, you'll need to legislate with us on how to get the funds to do that.
But you can't write a memo. You can't write a memo before that. But what you could do is lobby us for it. A fair memo the process takes too long. You would have to meet with them to even get it on the June 2nd agenda, and then it'd be at the end of the meeting. So it's too late. So what he's trying to say is start hustling now to try to figure out the numbers wise and explain it to people without violating the Brown Act. Explain it to us and explain exactly what you want to do and pitch it that night. But I want to listen to what you want to get through, but like work on it over the next 2 years, like get it on the agenda and be like, hey,
2 weeks.
No, 2 years.
Well,
so you're saying
Well, the only dilemma is that you're going to open up positions according to this budget, or you won't. I mean, that's what Jimmy, that's what I'm trying to understand. So when this budget passes and you have 3 requisitions that are approved in this budget, you now can open up those 3 requisitions and start spending against those, correct?
That is correct if there is a vote of 4 council members. If there is not a vote of 4, then I cannot. And so that would be up to the council at that time on June 2nd to discuss that. That's what I recommended, and I would answer your questions.
I'm sorry. So what I'm asking is that when you say to have 4 council members say that they don't want those 3 to be, you're saying to basically vote against the budget in total?
No, not in total. You could do a line item veto, basically.
Okay, that's what I wanted
to
to
pull out and I know. And let's clear this up because this is very important. You're looking at a $200 million budget. We don't want to hold the rest of that budget up because
I agree.
There are just some things council's not ready to approve yet, and that's totally acceptable
that's
and
fine.
totally reasonable. And if the rest of the council says we're going to vote for this budget except for X, Y, and Z,
okay,
we got plenty of time.
Now I understand much better.
Good.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a clarifying question, though? Last meeting, you asked for an additional code enforcement officer. So is that, and we all gave a thumbs up, so is this, did you take that back, Jimmy, and then will the proposed budget that we've been looking at reflect one, not just the one you're backfilling, but then one more?
So
or have you not made those adjustments yet?
What we will do on the 2nd is we will do the report backs. And I've written down everything and put a star here for things I believe that you want to hear more about. And so what the mayor asked is I want to add another code enforcement officer. And I will bring you some options and say this is how you can do it, this is how we can do it, but it's going to come from somewhere else. A, B, and C. And then if there's support from the council to approve that, that gets adopted that night as part of the budget. If it doesn't, it dies.
Okay.
And I would just pitch on a procedural thing. That's why all that conversation happened last Monday, because that's what the public knew we were here. They knew we were here discussing the budget specifically. Tonight, they think we're just working on a future agenda work plan. They don't assume that we're even talking about what's about to be adopted on June 2nd. That's the only reason why I was trying to really get you to separate that too.
Okay, so to be clear, we have his ideas for legislative agenda, correct? For consider how to more code enforcement.
Well, I think I will shoot myself a little bit and say, especially with what Zach has said, it's a little out of turn because I'm talking about some of the budget things rather than the legislative agenda things.
Okay.
And so given what Jimmy basically just brought forward, which is on June 2nd, come together and say, yeah, the budget's great, but there's 4 of us that basically want to pull this or change that. And that's how we get it done, and I'm good, and I'll yield my time to
No, but I still think that you should I still think you should throw yourself a pitch and get what you want to get into the legislative agenda for the future. Because if it fails on June 2nd, you're going to be kind of lost. You're either going to have to do your own fair memo, or if we get it in there now, you can talk about it then as well, or maybe even refine what might happen on June 2nd.
Let me try to help as well. What you could do is you could on June 2nd try to garner support for the ideas that you have. For now, you could look at policies, and one of the policies the council has is a resolution to transfer $1.5 million over to the recreation fund. If that is of interest to you, put that on the list, and that'll be on my work plan.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what I want.
You got it.
Jimmy,
Council-
go ahead. Did you want to get someone else?
You want to go? Councilmember Hilton was. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Jimmy, I have a question. The downtown committee, do we need to put those two proposed ordinances on the legislative agenda?
No, they are part of the community development work plan, and they will be listed on the community development work plan going forward.
And when will it come before council?
That will be determined when you see the work plan and the vote of the rest of the council, depending on priority.
Okay, because I thought we were all told it was going to happen in this fiscal year, fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Does it look like it?
I don't know where we're at with that.
Could you find out, please? Because those ordinances have been proposed back in January of 2024, and now I'm being told that it's being pushed back again, and this is with our downtown and our economic development.
Any other? You looking for legislative agenda items? Additional?
I would like to see them on. I'd like to see them done.
Okay.
We waited too long.
Okay, Councilmember Hilton.
So I'll start with one of them that I'd like to pitch, and that's, we talked about it last time during the budget. Our Parks and Rec Commission talked a lot about the need for dedicated funding to go back into our parks, especially building up infrastructure. I also think that's one thing that we should focus on, just because if we are going to go out to the taxpayers and ask them for a bond to build a new facility, I really think that we need to have a constant revenue stream into our old facilities as well. So we have a policy that I'd like to, I don't know the specific name to it because it's not actually a policy, it's in resolutions, but what I'd like to look at is a policy where 1 to 3% year-end savings go back into the park infrastructure. And like I was saying last meeting, there's two other policies where we do that. One of them was with the pension trust, and then our reserve policy. So that's one that I'd like to try to get on the agenda.
You're talking 1 to 3% of the year-end savings. If we save $1 million at the end of the year, 3% is $30,000.
Where do we go with that?
So this is all surplus that we have, for instance, unused. I think there's 8% that's a slush in there for employees that is unused because of it. All of that monies is included in this amount that we would pull the 1 to 3% from.
Yeah, so maybe you can explain how the Section 115 trust works. That's the policy I want to go into.
The council has a policy at the end of the year, and the financials are all completed. We typically have a surplus or leftover funds, and the policy for that, I believe, is 25% of that surplus goes into the Section 115 trust as a transfer, and then the council could come up with other conditions for the end of your savings. Let's say your $1 million, if you do 3%, that's $30,000, but they already have 25% going to the 115 trust.
And so if we were looking at the last couple of fiscal years and the projection for the next one, what would we estimate that surplus to be?
That's in the 5-year forecast, but we don't estimate a surplus at all.
Okay.
But that's from an operational budgeting. But we do during the year have things that occur. Our revenues could come in larger. Our expenditures could be lower. That's usually where
when you also have sometimes those 10% buffers on when you're having something come up, and it's like, we're going to allocate 10% more just in case it's more, and then it doesn't end up, and so
right, contingencies,
all the contingencies, yeah, all of that, and so like I said, the last couple of fiscal years, what was the surplus and what would it amount to if it was 3%, let's say?
Yeah, I do think we've had $1 million in some years, the last few years, and I recall sending $250,000 or so over to the Section 115 Trust. So that $1 million is kind of a good benchmark to consider.
And to the parks, is that like to public works in general, or is there a specific account that's for parks improvement, or is...
There is a specific capital improvement program for parks. It can be put in a separate fund. It just depends on how you create the policy.
And you think 3% is enough?
I certainly think it could be more, but I want to start at that point. I don't want to take out too much. And just for another thing I can think of, when we had surplus, I think it was back in like 2019, 2018, we had a pretty good surplus, and we used it to like repave 7th Street parking lot, pay for the environmental work for the Sharks Ice Arena Phase 3. Like, there was a couple of one-time uses that we used that. So, I mean, it could be more than $1 million at certain times, too.
I get that. I would support that up to, when we discuss it on, when it comes up to 5%. I think you're starting to get to money that can actually have a little bit of impact. I mean, we got sprinkler timers coming up at $127,000, so.
Councilmember Ramirez.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to probably defer to you a little bit. This is something I want to make sure I'm looking at this chart correctly. We talked about it today. So, Sunday, the mayor and I went out to the sports park for an event, and I drove out there, and it's just god-awful ugly until you actually turn into the sports park, and it's beautiful. It's welcoming. It's wonderful. And we've talked about setting money aside for one-time use in beautifying our gateways to enhance the opportunity to attract economic development. And so I am looking at the amount of excess in our reserves, and I would like to look at spending some of those one time towards beautifying that area, looking at getting RFPs or bids or something in, what that would cost, getting off of 101 and then coming up to the park to make it really welcoming and compatible to what it looks like once you actually enter into that sports park.
I agree that if there's a way that we can do that, and this goes in line with what you mentioned around taking over the Caltrans areas over there and putting money towards real landscaping or what have you in these areas, so when you come off the freeway, it looks like other cities that I go to, and they look like you took some time and effort, and it's just not 3-foot high wheatgrass.
And I know that there are other gateways that need addressing. I would like to prioritize that one, given that the Sharks are coming in. It does bring in, a number of outsiders into the city with the use of the sports park. That's what I would like to propose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Is it okay if I add, in case it wasn't clear, I like how you mentioned like the Caltrans properties. Are you suggesting like all of our clover leafs and stuff like other communities? Okay. I would love to have that conversation.
We should be looking at it, and then we should be looking to see how and what, if there's any reimbursement that we can get, we should be looking at that. And regardless, we should have an understanding of what the costs are and whether or not it makes sense in our overall economic development plan.
Okay.
That is already on the economic development director's work plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Councilmember Klein? Nothing?
I got more stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go after you.
The next one I have is the TOT. So to change the city from a specific 9% TOT to a capped TOT plan, like other cities have, whereby we can change it by resolution as a council as necessary with the economy or the city's needs. Right now, just so you guys know, there's we're the lowest in the county. The county average is 11.7. We're at 9. The average of all the Bay Area counties is also 11.7. Monterey's 12. Marina's 14. I'm pretty sure that Morgan Hill's 10, I think. I don't have it down on here. But San Juan Bautista's 12. Palo Alto's 15. So we're clearly, as a as a city that wants to have some tourism and has a lot of hotels, we can definitely take advantage of that. It will require us, obviously, to go to the ballot, but I think it's worthwhile because rather than a, cost center ballot measure, it's going to be a revenue generating out of the money of others, not us. Everybody game on that?
Yep. Can I do one? Can I do one at least? Zach, you talked about recreation, but I would like to propose the idea of a recreation master plan for this community. Do we need to have an updated recreation master plan?
Yeah, we have a parks master plan that was updated 2005-ish, so it's probably a little overdue.
Okay.
Yeah, Parks Master Plan is absolutely necessary. Parks and trails together are sometimes done, right, Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think
Good.
they go together.
Good.
I want it to include trails.
Trails. Recreation. That's why I said recreation, not parks.
Yeah.
Very high level. Go ahead.
Many of us talked back in February when we were doing the council member districts to take that meaningful effort. And as a city, now that we created districts, and Councilmember Bracco, you said it perfectly where you said we should be engaging all year round, right? Civic engagement all year round, not just, crossing our fingers and hoping that the district thing works. So, I've worked with a couple of you trying to come up with best practices, good ideas, and hoping I get this on our legislative agenda so we can have time to work on it before the next election comes up. The idea very shortly would be, obviously let the community know who is in each of these districts, how to get in touch with them. It could come in from like a mailer. It could be other types of engagement. Also on that mailer and other things that would be in this plan would obviously have the opportunity for the city to also do civic engagement and on what they want to get engagement back, like the Civic Center Master Plan.
I think it should be like a little outreach too.
Mm-hmm.
Of, if you're interested, call and learn what it'll take to run for office.
Yeah, 100%.
Or we can even do a workshop, right?
Yep. So that's something that I'm dedicated to work on. I know most of you are too.
What me and Zach were talking about is doing it all year round. All year round. Not just a month before the election.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Good. I think we have an agreement on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, next one. The LAFCO work necessary to get the city boundaries to include the sports park. I know we mentioned it in the previous one, and to see what the legal ramifications, costs, etc., are that to try to get that done. Is that everybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, last and final one. We did really well back in 2012-ish with the tobacco retail license and through ordinance, but it's time that we review that again. And I know that staff has been working on that. And as many of you know, over the last 6 months, 4 of our smoke shops got. That's the way I'll use it. They got dinged. They're selling stuff that they shouldn't be selling. Right now, we do have funding that came from public health, thankfully, that the city admin has now to be able to work on the retail license. But that's part of the legislative item. But the other one is Campbell actually just placed a moratorium on approving all tobacco retail shops until they brought a tobacco retail license back. I think that, I see that one on Monterey Road and Leavesley just kind of pop up overnight. There's, even though ours is pretty good, we can make it a little bit more restrictive and more of what we want to see in our community. Just using Campbell as an example, the last sentence, they had 6 pop up within a 4-month period or whatever, right before they could even get that in there. So a month ago, they placed a moratorium. I'd like for us to consider a moratorium.
I'm willing to hear more.
Okay.
Thank you. That was my final one.
Okay, I have one more, if you don't mind. I know I said it a little bit earlier. I think we were still stuck in strategic planning session, but I wanted to make sure that I got in there the part about a more regional approach to the unhoused. Is that part of our legislative agenda? Okay.
I do think that one would end up in a work plan item for our housing division, but it's okay to at least bring it here.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Next one is, especially in light of just doing districting, the review of our campaign finance laws, donation limits, and enforcement. There's, the teeth to what we have that is outside of FPPC that is here locally in our own local ordinances to review those, to have them come up to see what changes we might want, and to put them into place in time for the next election cycle.
Oh, okay. Any more over here? Go ahead.
Just one more. There was a committee, or an ad hoc committee, I think, for the Sharks, and a couple of people that were, I think that has kind of gone away because some of the people that were on that committee are no longer on council, and I think that it might be helpful to bring that committee back to see that this keeps moving forward the way we hope for it to do.
Would we have an ad hoc during the process and the event moves forward?
Not typically. I think it would be like, what's the goals of the ad hoc? Because the ad hoc finished their work when the agreement was entered in between the Sharks and the city, so I just wouldn't know what the role would be of the ad hoc.
I would like it to be similar to like what there was an oversight committee type of thing with the library when that was being built.
But the Sharks are their own entity doing that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, they're building. Okay, I guess I'm just, how do we make sure it keeps going?
So, Jimmy, how do we maintain transparency with some members of the council with even now what was in the agreement or what was in the MOU?
There's two large steps coming up, and one is finishing the financing plan. And that financing plan has to come to the council for approval. The second part is the actual lease of the property between the Sharks and the city. The facility would be owned by the city but would be leased and operated by the Sharks. That is going to be a pretty long process to get council to approve. So that is not something we're going to show up at one council meeting and say, hey, here's the lease, what do you think? It will be a long process, some in closed session, some in open session, but that process will evolve over quite a bit of time. Especially considering the project hasn't broke ground yet, you're looking at a lot of, especially that part, maybe 2 years from now, if they were to break out.
The dilemma I see, though, is that there are other capital improvements and utilities improvements and things that you're going to be asking for us to do, and we're kind of doing them somewhat blindly without knowing the viability of this particular plan. Obviously, we have a long-term goal of developing out the sports park, and we all know that, but the urgency of any one of those things is going to be directly tied to how that other part is going, or whether or not we even feel, for the community, or some of us would feel, is viable, right, to help make some of those decisions. I don't understand how all of it works. I just know that if we're putting, the ultimate faith without, a large level of transparency.
I have a comment. Can't we, if we decide at any time, can't we put an ad hoc together with specific goals, regardless of it's Sharks Ice or anything, as a council?
I think the city attorney could tell you what the parameters are for that.
Generally speaking, you can. It has to be an agendized item, and you have to decide whether it would be a Brown Act committee or not. In other words, how many members it would have and so on. Generally, if it has less than 3 members and it's truly ad hoc for a limited period of time, it's not a Brown Act committee. But it has to be done by formal, agendized action of the council.
So I kind of like that idea because it keeps us a little bit more mobile, and we can do that in a very short period of time and quickly instead of going to a legislative agenda that gets stuck in a year. Okay. that okay to that?
Yeah, I just, and then I do have a question with regards to the lease that you were talking about. Do we not break ground before that a lease agreement, or is that kind of?
That's not on the legislative agenda. Sorry. Next.
I think you might already have this one, but just with a little bit of additional detail. The exploration of all the options for fire services, fire and health services, in all the various ways, giving us obviously adequate time to really become educated. I don't have a lot of subject matter expertise in this, and I'd like to have enough time and to get public feedback, and really to put it in a way that is, if I can think of it this way, like you're buying a stereo, okay? Like these are the key things, these are the 10 key things that kind of matter. These are the pros and the cons. This is the cost differentials in ways that all line up in a way that in plain English, that not just us, but even the public can really see how the decisions are being made. That would be my request as we're getting to it.
Is that part of your earlier conversation about overall public safety? You want to have a study?
That was Kelly bringing that up, and specifically that was around police, not necessarily fire, because it was about the beat system and the number of police officers that she had concern about prior.
But I have a feeling that we were talking about that at the strategic plan portion. Did that make it to the legislative agenda?
I'm sorry, I'm confused about what exactly you're asking made it to the legislative agenda.
I think that a couple of members here wanted to be able to have on the legislative agenda.
A thumbs up or a not thumbs
right,
up. Right,
so I just want to make sure.
I would not put that in the same boat as what I'm talking about on the fire
I think
health.
that's
okay, sorry. Okay.
I think because what I said was we already have a third party with LAFCO saying what we need for fire, but what I think you're asking for is looking at whether, as we move down the line, are we going with Cal, are we going with county, are we staying with city? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, how we're going to deliver city services in terms of fire and health as we're turning the corner into next year, how we're going to go about doing that, and having the options all presented to us in a way that is the way we can understand and that the public can understand. And I know that Jimmy's on that, but I didn't know how it fits into the overall legislative agenda, so that's why I was raising it.
And I think when staff's trying to come up with a wording from it, I think we should use the wording that's in the MOU already with Local 2805 that basically talks about exploring the regionalization. Because if we use the same language,
sure. I mean that's one of the options, and it should be expressed probably in a similar way so that there's a correlation, no doubt.
Well, and the only reason why I say that is I'm not a labor union attorney at all, but to have a bargaining unit that already has contract services, you don't want to basically say like, oh, next year we're going to think about CAL FIRE. You want to talk about what's already in place in there, right? So you're not.
You're so far in the weeds with me over my head that I don't even know. So I'm just going to hand it off. I think the intent of what I'm asking for.
So everybody agrees with that? The fire service.
Is it in the work plan already, Jimmy?
Okay, so see there. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it was actually in the budget message.
Yeah, I wanted to add those last couple of little details, that's all.
Okay, but now I'm going to go back. To be clear, now that's separate. To be clear, I think we do not have any long-term legislative agenda about PD, staffing of PD. We do not have that on there yet. Do you want that on there?
So I wanted to look at, as we move forward, a third party third party needs assessment to validate whether we do or do not need to move forward with increasing our police, or before we even talk about getting it on the ballot or having an impact on the budget, is it even necessary, right?
Okay.
So it's not our gut feeling, it's not just coming from the public.
So you'd rather have somebody from out of town, knows nothing about Gilroy, come and tell us what we need over our chief of police and his captains?
I believe he brought it up in that last meeting that we have to have some sort of other outside work done to determine the beats, and I confused, but
yeah, if you're going to meet standards and such, you don't do that internally. The example is the fire standards of coverage. That is done by a company that analyzes numerous things and not just what one of, some of our staff members would recommend. I think it's a lot deeper than that.
So fire and police standards are
We
covered.
already have fire. LAFCO has already determined fire, third party, but I'm talking police.
Okay. Then
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far to say LAFCO did determine that. They did a fire service study, but they didn't. They did it more in a regional, which is their charge.
Okay.
But they didn't expressly say you need X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so then let me ask you, or others, should we go both police and fire then? I'm happy with that.
Sure, absolutely. Needs assessment for both.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Okay. Thumbs up. But at least you'll get it, and that's what you were asking for, really. You need to know. Yeah. All right. Any further?
I think I'm good for now.
All right.
That was fun, though, right?
Yeah, it's good.
That's
It's
a
good.
good picture for
Yeah,
the
it
next
is.
few years.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm new to this. What do you want?
So last slide here was just some things that were said during strategic planning. Unfunded state mandates, is there help, consequences for noncompliance? We actually do have an item on the work plan about talking about state mandates. One is the trash capture devices that council did not support. And what does something like that really mean when you don't? And then this is the rest of the last notes from the end of our
Yeah, and
strategic plan.
I'll hit on one of those to look at, which is this communication strategy, city presence one. I think that what the police department has done recently in terms of social media has been amazing in terms of engaging the public with what's going on in social media. And I would like to see how we can elevate the city as a whole to a similar kind of engagement with the community rather than just putting out, hey, we're going here and doing this, but really engaging when the community members have a question and answering it and finding out information. It is the new future for cities and city engagement, and I would like us to explore that.
Okay, that'll go on
Anybody?
legislative agenda. Yeah, I like it. I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys okay with it down there? Okay.
Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about how this really comes about. So we have a lot of items on here, and what we do in the work plan is we first start with mandatory. Those are the things we absolutely have to do. And so a lot of times when it's asked, why didn't this get done or why didn't that get done? Well, one, it wasn't mandatory, it was discretionary. So when you see our work plans, you're going to see items that say discretionary, and you're going to have to decide as a group if that discretionary item is that important to you to where you move that up the line, because we'll put them where we think they are, but at the end of the day, we take our direction from you. And for some departments that have a lot of mandatory items, the schedule for getting discretionary items is very challenging without adding resources or coming up with some other plan. So I just want to warn you that when you do see the work plan, there may be things on there that you ask for, but we don't feel like they will supersede some other things. And so that's just part of the art of adopting a budget, but we'll give you that information. So the next steps for us is the fiscal year 26-27 budget adoption, which we will recommend on June 2nd, 2025. That'll have the department work plans. It'll also have the resource allocation, which is really the budget, and then the legislative agenda policies, and then we will review council policies. And as we stated before, the council certainly has the ability to line item, program, veto, whatever you'd like to call it, but we certainly encourage council to adopt as much as they possibly can to be comfortable with on June 2nd, so you give yourself some time to work through some of these other items. And then our new fiscal year starts July 1st, 2025.
Can we go back for just one thing? I would like to add, you said there were a program or what else on the legislative, a program or a policy?
Policies.
Policies. So can I ask for one additional policy? And that is to have when we come back from our break, the end of June, I think is our break, that at that point the packet is 1 week posted and available, the final packet 1 week prior to our meetings. Because we had talked about that and you said that was going to happen in June. I don't think that's going to happen in June.
Actually, we have been doing that.
Well, there's still they're all drafts still a week ahead. So
They're all always going to be drafts the week ahead. What we do, and Bryce has done this, is we release the entire packet, and then on Thursday he gives you the updates and changes, which recently have been very few. So.
And is it available to the public a week ahead? Is it posted?
No, it is not.
So that's what I'm asking, so that the public has a time to review it and get in touch with us if they have questions and that type of thing, so that there's more opportunity rather than just over the weekend for us to comment back to them or ask staff questions that were being asked.
I would say that's up to council policy to evaluate. I couldn't commit to doing that one way or another up here.
I mean, my only comments on that are, when there's small red lines or small changes or this or that or the other, that's completely understandable. It's if there are large sections of stuff that has to come in that doesn't make it into the draft that then has to be later. That's not in the spirit of I think what Kelly and I have been discussing, and I don't know how to get that into policy or not policy. Then there's also the public side of it as well, but that's where my particular desire is that I don't want to see large chunks of stuff coming in on a Thursday, right, that wasn't in there on the previous, Monday or whatever it is. So I don't know if that's a policy. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I'm Mr. Transparent, so I'd love to have the thing be out there. I'd also like to have advice from staff to basically say, well, here's the pros and cons of doing that. Whether it be operationally or in the visibility and the way things look.
Does that mean? So that means that we would get something on the legislative agenda, and they would come back and they would study it, figure out ways to come back to meet those needs that you guys are asking for. And if there's a cost associated with it, then
Well, it's similar to it's exactly what planning does. Planning has it posted publicly 1 week before the Planning Commission meeting.
I'm game for that.
Okay. Yes.
What has been, just since you've been doing this, we've been doing this, the amount of changes that have gone from that initial drop to the next Thursday? Has there been much that's been added? Because I know the concern is a lot being dropped on Thursday.
There's not just added too. Again, if you put from Monday, right? If you put a bunch, because the idea is not to work on it in the last day or two, at least for me.
Right.
And if on Tuesday or Wednesday I do a ton of reading and work in one particular area, and then it just gets dumped off the agenda altogether, it's kind of a bummer as well, right? So, and I get that there's some of that but it also helps keep you a little bit more true if it's in the public, right? They also have an understanding of what's coming or going in the agenda a little bit more. So anyway.
Well, I think if it's helpful, we'll put out the legislative agenda that let's talk about agenda publication process because there's some intricacies here that I don't think we have to get in here, but I certainly understand the desire for knowledge, and I think there's going to be pros and cons to that, and I'd like to hear the council weigh that.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for 9.1? Okay, sorry, just to be transparent, is there any public comment for 9.1?
We have no speakers at this time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 10, introduction of new business. Adopt a resolution setting the 2025 fireworks service fee. Staff.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of the community. Tonight, we have the 2025 fireworks service fee for your consideration and adoption. The methodology for determining the fireworks service fee changed last year because of Assembly Bill 1403. AB 1403 provides guidance regarding fireworks enforcement and fireworks funding. AB 1403 allows the city to charge a fee to help offset the actual and reasonable cost incurred by that city for the activities you see on the slides. Processing and issuing permits, inspecting fireworks stands, conducting public outreach campaigns, enforcing the provisions of the city code, and fire operation and suppression efforts that are related to safe and sane fireworks. AB 1403 also limits the amount a city may charge to not exceed 7% of the gross sales of the fireworks sold in the city during the applicable period. For 2024, the Safe and Sane wholesale fireworks vendor here, that's TNT Fireworks, they reported gross sales in Gilroy of $463,610. So in accordance with AB 1403, the amount the city may charge, total for combined fireworks-related fees in 2025, that's 7% times that. That's how we derive the $32,452.70. The fireworks-related fees comprised of the fireworks booth permit fee, storage yard permit fee, and the fireworks service fee. So you see our calculations there for the booth permit fee. We have 14 booths, so totaling $11,466. Storage yard permit fee just for one storage location, $467. And basically, we back calculated the fireworks service fee from that total that's allowed. So that comes out to $20,519.70. And this fireworks service fee will support the public education outreach efforts, additional public safety to enforce provisions of city code, and the fire suppression efforts related to safe and sane fireworks. So staff's recommendation is for council to adopt a resolution setting the 2025 fireworks service fee at $20,519.70 in accordance with Assembly Bill 1403. Thank you.
Question for Sharon?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the limitation of 7%, is it on the current year amount or it's on the prior year? I know you used the prior year.
Correct.
But according to the law, which is it?
We believe it's the prior year because, you need all that data.
Well, that's
in
what we're
order to
setting
set the
it
following
at,
year.
right?
Correct.
But to be compliant, you can't be over 7% in the year that it's happening, right? So in other words, it could be that we sell $600,000 of fireworks this year in the city, and then we could be allowed $42,000 in actual fees, right? By law, is that how it works?
I don't know if the bill is really that clear about that when it says applicable period, because, you can also look at it whether.
So if you happen to overcharge,
Mhm.
right, and let's say you had a projected amount and you had an overcharge, and so you anticipated, just a curiosity here, and you anticipated it was going to go up 10%, so you increase this fee to account for what you think it's going, and it ends up being more than that, can't we just charge the lesser amount or credit it back so that we maximize the amount of revenue that the city gets?
You mean to refund them?
Yeah, basically, or you're giving them a credit or however you want to phrase it. I know it's not a ton of money, but if we had $600,000 in sales, we'd be leaving, $13,000 on the table.
You could do that. You would just have to. You'll be estimating every year, and then doing a refund through that method.
That's just for my own knowledge. Thank you.
Yes.
When you say they report, that's the honor system. There's no auditing.
Correct. But we get that in writing from them. They give us a list of their sales and the total. This is the amount that you provided.
By booth?
By TNT Fireworks?
No, excuse me, a TNT, but it has how many, 12 or 13 booths around Gilroy?
Yeah, that's the total they provided.
Yeah, so they don't line item it by booth, that just one
booth.
sales.
Correct.
They do? They do, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
thank you.
correct. Mhm.
Okay.
They give us by booth, and then they give us the total
Yeah.
also.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Klein, second by Councilmember Marks to adopt the resolution of the City Council of Gilroy setting the 2025 fireworks service fee at $20,519.70 in accordance with Assembly Bill 1403. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Who?
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Boto.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to item 10.2. Consent the appointment of Ken Binder, Capos retired as the interim police chief following successful completion of all peace officer standards and training post hiring recruitment and adoption of a resolution approving the appointment and employment agreement. Staff, please.
Good evening again. Due to the upcoming retirement of Police Chief Pedro Espinosa, the city is working through the steps to fill the police chief position on an ongoing basis. This won't be completed for a few months due to some remaining steps and required background process for external candidates. Therefore, we have a need to bring on an interim police chief during this time period. Retired Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office Under Sheriff Ken Bender is available to serve in this leadership position. He is here tonight, sitting sized right up to the staff table, fit right in. Mr. Bender is a California Public Employees Retirement System retired annuitant. He retired in December of 24. He does possess the background, education, experience, and skills to serve as an interim police chief, pending successful completion of all of the required peace officer standards and training hiring requirements for a sworn peace officer chief position. He has 27 years of law enforcement experience, 26 of which were at the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, and he rose through the ranks and served in the role of undersheriff from 2020 to 2024. He has his bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance from San Jose State and a Master of Arts in criminal justice from Arizona State, and he is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy. There's various CalPERS rules and regulations that we have to follow when we're looking to bring on a retired annuitant to assist us on an interim basis. So under Government Code Section 21221H, we can hire a retired annuitant to serve in an interim position when there is an immediate need for expertise and specialized skills, and we have a recruitment underway for the position. So we've already completed many of the steps in the hiring process. So that piece is met. We have to comply with a number of hours he can work. And the staff report in your packet outlines the police chief job duties that would be performed in the position. He'll be paid $127.40 per hour. $127.40 per hour with no other benefits or incentives. And so with this appointment, we will be able to continue some continuity in the police department until we fill the position on an ongoing basis. And we want to get this piece of the approval process out of the way because we are fast tracking and going through the remaining steps of the post requirements for bringing Mr. Bender on board. And so we want to be able to make his appointment effective as soon as those are complete rather than having to wait for yet another council meeting. So that is why this is before you tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
So when is it expected that those things will be complete and Mr. Binder can start as the new police chief?
Yeah, if everything goes as I hope it's going to go, I'm sort of thinking June 2nd. So we'll have an acting chief within the department until June 2nd when he comes on board.
So this is we're getting an interim police chief. We'll have an acting police chief between whatever Friday or whenever.
Friday to whenever he can start. If it's
okay.
before June 2nd, that'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions? Okay, so no further questions. I'll entertain a motion. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Public comment?
We have no speakers on this item.
And there's 2 items that need to be approved for this.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to try to do them both at once. I got approval from the city attorney. So I'm going to entertain a motion, and here it is. Consent the city administrator's recommendation to appoint Ken Binder as interim police chief effective upon successful completion of all peace officer standards and trainings hiring requirements, and adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gilroy approving the appointment of Ken Binder as interim police chief pursuant to Government Code Section 21221, and authorizing the city administrator to execute the employment agreement to include setting the employment start date following successful completion of all post-hiring requirements. Somebody give me a motion.
I move.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Bracco and a second by Councilmember Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Yes.
Mayor Bozo.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item 11, future council-initiated agenda items. We have none. Item 12, City Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two quick reports. One, I want to thank everybody who came out to the Eva's Creek and helped pick up trash. There was plenty of it, not as much as there used to be, but you can really see the difference in the creek in the last few years when a lot of folks have donated their time to go out and pick up trash. It looks so much better out there, and so I'm very grateful for the groups that put that together. And second of all, I'd be remiss without announcing that tonight is the last City Council meeting for Pedro Espinoza, our police chief. He has served 30 years in public safety, 22 of those here in Gilroy, and 5 as the chief. He is the first hire I had and one of the best hires I've ever had. The official retirement ceremony for Chief Espinoza is on Thursday at 3 o'clock at New Hope Church, and we'll be doing some recognitions and items like that at that ceremony if you're able to attend. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13, City Attorney's report.
There's an interesting social media case, but I'll do it at an earlier, at some meeting in the future when we have a little earlier in the evening. So should we go into closed session?
Sure. Closed session, please. Item 14.
Conference with labor negotiator, collective bargaining units pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, Gilroy City Code 17A11-4, collective bargaining units, Gilroy Police Officers Association, representing Gilroy police officers, Gilroy Management Association, representing mid-management employees, unrepresented exempt employees, confidential department heads, and council appointed. City negotiators Jimmy Forbes, Leanne McPhillips. Anticipated issues under negotiation: wages, hours, benefits, working conditions. Memorandums of understanding between the City of Gilroy and the Gilroy Police Officers Association, and the City of Gilroy and the Gilroy Management Association. So we don't need to take a vote to go into closed session, but we do need to ask for public comment.
We have no speakers at this time.
All right. Then the council should adjourn to closed session. The first item in closed session is to take a vote to remain in closed session. At the conclusion of closed session, the mayor or city administrator should report out any action taken, including that vote. No, you take a vote once you're in closed session. Okay. It's different for the litigation closed sessions. It's confusing.
2-minute break before we go into closed session.
Yeah.
People.
This is up.